McCall.
Here.
McCall, sorry.
Oh, no, sorry.
There's also McHale.
Sorry. Oh, I'm also
Am I
talking. I'm
wrong?
sorry.
No, Senator McHale's here. There's
I was
McHale
right.
and McCall.
Who's
Yes, you're
gaslighting
right.
me?
Me, I'm sorry.
Senator Morgan.
Okay, so you can just minimize that time. Right, so-
Here.
Good.
And then just make sure you share your screen with the.
Senator Melchior.
Yeah. See everything. Yeah, then
Here.
you just click on it.
Associate Senator Hubley. Senator Weaver. Associate Senator Chacon.
Here.
Did I say that right?
Yeah. And then zoom in.
Senator Belker.
There's a thing at the bottom of it.
Senator Kelly.
Here.
Associate Senator Bernard.
Slide.
Senator Zhao. Senator
You should do
Laffey.
it.
I mean, Associate Senator Laffey.
Here.
Looks like-
Senator
Why is
Nyambe.
it doing that?
There we go.
There we go. Oh, thank you.
Associate Senator
Thank you for being in
Saunders.
the trenches with
And then repeat
Associate
it.
Senator Kelly.
No, we're good.
Associate Senator Lutz.
Oh, yeah, I can just look up all
Here. Lutz.
Lutz, okay. Associate Senator Winston. Here. Associate Senator Barbon or Barbon. You're not here to tell me.
my.
Senator Wright.
Here.
I guess it was second.
Associate Senator Torres Doxy. Okay, for any senator or associate senator that just got ratified, if you'll just come up to me at the end and I'll get your name down for attendance. Mr. Speaker, I'm done.
Thank you. Oh, we also need it on the screen too, eventually.
Okay, I figured it out.
Thank you. Thank you all for bearing with us. Our fearless parliamentarian, Vaishnavi, isn't feeling well, so. Consent agenda, is there any dissent? Yes, Chair Chow.
I would like to quickly add guest presentation under judicial reports.
Okay,
Our presentation that was already submitted within the email, the SFRB one, it just wasn't put on the actual agenda.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of doing so, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we'll reflect that change. And then Chair Salazar.
Yeah, I would like to motion to move
It'll just-
diversity and inclusion caucus to under gallery input.
Yeah, so just click on it. And then right under judicial reports.
All in favor of doing so, say aye.
Aye.
All against?
Okay, so this motion passes.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to executive reports. Now, is there anyone from the executive branch that wishes to report? Director Silverheart, I saw you first. Just sprint to the front. Yeah, whoever gets here first wins.
Thank you.
Where did you? Let me ask you.
Point of order.
Yeah.
I actually motioned for DNI caucus to go underneath gallery input.
DNI caucus? Right after gallery input.
Oh, we did not do gallery input.
I apologize. Is there anyone from the gallery who wishes
So you.
to speak at this time?
Yeah, I can just copy it. And then what's after that?
Fantastic. Seeing none, we will move on to executive reports now.
DNI caucus report.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker, a motion has been made and seconded to put the DNI caucus under.
That was entertained and done.
Yeah.
And what's this one? DNI caucus?
Yeah.
It's okay, I'm gonna just go.
Yeah.
Okay. In favor of Trans Day Remembrance and Resiliency, I'm using my report to talk about this. Thank you. About this topic, but I'm actually going to yield to my senators, associate senators, Associate Senator Ellie. Let's you go.
Thank you. Trans Day of Remembrance and Resiliency is an annual event to honor and remember the lives lost to anti-trans violence each year, a number which has been unfortunately been growing for the past number of years. Gender-based violence impacts us all. The erasure of trans people and trans experience impacts us all. It is powerful to hold space with others who see themselves tied up in this fight in a movement for trans lives, especially for those in our trans family who are disproportionately impacted by policing, violence, murder, and erasure, are Black, Latina, and Indigenous trans sisters and siblings. The fight for trans lives is not separate from the fight for Black and brown lives, Indigenous lives, immigrant lives, and more. Trans Day of Remembrance was created in recognition of the deep pain and needing to mourn after the death and murder of Rita Henson, a Black trans woman living in Boston in 1998. It was created by and for trans people. For trans people, it is a day of remembrance, community, mourning, and looking to a future of healing. For our trans allies, today it is a call to action. During the event, we will be hearing from speakers, poets, musicians, and more. We will be reading the names of those who have been taken from us in the past year due to anti-trans violence, and hopefully create a space for healing and looking to a future where trans, non-binary, intersex, and gender expansive folks are honored, respected, and have a bright and hopeful future. At CSU, 1 out of 2 LGBTQIA students feel like they do not belong, and our community faces significantly higher rates of interpersonal violence, verbal threats, mental health issues, and suicidality than our non-LGBTQ peers at CSU, according to the National College Health Assessment. We will hope you'll join us for this event and consider this week, which is Trans Awareness Week, a reminder to continue working towards a world where all are cared for and celebrated who they are and who they authentically are. Thursday, November 17th, Pride will be hosting their annual Trans Day of Remembrance and Resiliency event in partnership with STPS and local organizations throughout Northern Colorado. At 5:30 p.m. in the LSC Theater, there will be dinner for trans and non-binary folks to spend time in community with each other. At 6:30 p.m., we will begin our commemoration, a community remembrance event.
As it stands, transgender and non-binary people have shorter life expectancies than their cisgender peers. Many of us in the community have the possibility that we will not make it past the age of 35, and after 2021, these ages dropped even more. For white trans folks, it has dropped to 32, and for trans women of color, it has dropped to 28. Crimes and harassment for us continue to plague this community, and safety for us is constantly on our minds. There is never a moment where we aren't thinking about our own safety and the safety of our peers and family members. And gender-affirming healthcare currently in this country, in many different states as well, is difficult for us to come by and often comes with many hoops that we have to jump through, like multiple doctors, multiple years upon hormone therapy, and many other things that aren't accessible for many of us to get.
Yeah, so just to throw a couple of more facts and statistics.
Yes, it's on there was like an addition.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think that y'all heard them right. The life expectancy for any trans person in this country prior to 2021 was 35. After 2021, going on record being the deadliest year for trans people, particularly Black trans women, that life expectancy has now dropped to 32. And for Black trans women, that life expectancy is 28. Can anyone in here imagine or try to imagine not being, having to try and plan their life with it in mind that there's a high probability that you won't make it out of your 20s? For a lot of other people,
this week is a week of awareness and learning and remembrance. But for people who hold identities similar or like my own, this is a week of mourning. Every single day that I open my phone, I am bombarded with all kinds of news reports of a Black trans woman being harassed, being killed, being outed. And so for us, Trans Awareness Week is not just a week. For us, it is year round. For a lot of us, we have to walk and move, keeping in mind that at any moment, someone could decide that they don't agree with our very existence.
Thank you.
And that's definitely not an easy thing to contend with, especially on top of everything else that's going on. So my point is that as you all move forward and we move through this week of Trans Remembrance, I really want everyone to genuinely start to be more cognizant of how we describe and speak of trans people, because also remembering that the typical verbiage that is used surrounding trans people and trans identities perpetuates violence. And also recognizing that number one, it is not our job as trans people to teach or inform cisgender people about how to be respectful, and also did I turn myself? Oh, okay. You're doing too much. But yeah, and also be aware of the difference between active social justice and performative justice. If the only time that you are able to defend a trans person is in front of a crowd of people, that is performative justice. So keep in mind that as an ally, you need to be defending us in front of people and behind closed doors as well. That's it, that's all.
And then Senator Will also has something to say. You want to unmute.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about why TDOR is important. So across the country right now, over 200 pieces of anti-trans legislation has shown up along state, federal, and local governments, particularly targeting trans youth. So these are people aged under the age of 18. And I wanted to talk a little bit about someone named Leila Alcorn. She took her own life in 2014. Yesterday would have been her 25th birthday. I personally transitioned to about a month before she took her own life. And every year since, more and more trans youth are either choosing to take their own life or being killed by their family members, by parents, by strangers. And so this isn't just about the fact that I am 24, getting close to being 32, and that year has been haunting me. It's about the fact that every single year, more and more and more kids are dying, and we are denying their right to a future. We are denying their right to fall in love, to learn who they are, to get to grow up in a world where they are nothing but just cherished and loved for who they are. Queer youth are 5 times more likely to die by suicide, and trans youth have the highest rate of suicide out of any youth group. So this week is not just about learning about trans people and supporting us, it's about staying alive. And so I want everyone to keep that in mind, that when you are fighting for trans people, you are especially fighting for trans kids to have a world where they get to grow up. Thank you. I yield back to Chair Salazar.
Thank you, Senator Will. I also want to thank my associates, Chair Oslan, Associate Senator Lutz, Associate Senator Winston, and Senator Lowe for speaking. And then with that, I'll yield back to you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to executive reports.
Hello, Senate. It's good to see everyone in here. So this past week, I was at the Presidential Search Committee. We interviewed 12 applicants. 3 of them will be moved on to the Board of Governors Evaluation Committee. Like I said before, we'll have a name by the end of the year and hopefully a sitting president sometime between the months of March and July. I'll be presenting the B bill tonight. Hopefully that'll be passed. And additionally, I'll be also presenting the Groom bill tonight. And then also I'll be helping present the ASCSU letter to Congress. Additionally, there was some confusion as to why a special session is being called on Friday. It's because we are seeking expedition of this bill tonight. And just in case the bill is not expedited, we have called that special session on Friday. I'm going to be meeting with David Hansen to seeing the bench utilization on campus. I've heard from multiple people a desire to see more benches on campus. So I'm going to be meeting with him. And then I'm also going to be meeting with Dee Batiger regarding veterans transcript request data. And then I'm also going to be meeting up with the Colorado Student Government Coalition tomorrow. And then additionally, I'll also be meeting with the Council of Student Leaders tomorrow. And then finally, tonight I met up with Rocky Mountain Student Media, along with Secretary Waller and Director Pringle. I'm very comfortable with how their finances currently stand. And they had an independent auditor look at them, and they think that their financials are very healthy at the moment. I'm going to be looking taking a more detailed look here in the near future, but I'm very comfortable with how they are currently. But beyond that, that is my report.
Hi, everyone. My name's Hayden Deason. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I am the Chief of Staff for Executive Cabinet. So today we were supposed to go all together to a movie at the Lyric hosted by NAC. Unfortunately, a lot of people had to cancel, I think due to, coming up on fall break, needing to get a lot of stuff done. So instead we canceled Cabinet just to give people more time to have a chance to go to other SDPS events, and then also just have more time to get the homework done. And everyone's still on a great track, doing a lot of great things. I'm very proud of what everyone's doing. I hope you're all reading some of our reports because people are doing wonderful things. This past week, I worked on the Body Project, which was put on by Dane Rossler and Deputy Director Weiss, who is the Deputy Director of Basic Needs, thank you, not Health and Wellness. And it went really well. And I will be training new peer leaders for it in the spring. And so I absolutely encourage some of you, if you're interested, to become a part of that. It has doctoral research behind it. It's a very well accomplished program. And so it's a really wonderful thing that I encourage you all to spend some time in. On top of that, I am starting to think about perhaps a spring retreat for ASCSU. If anyone has any specific ideas on that, I'd like to hear it. Or if you think that a spring retreat is not necessary, I would also like to hear it. But ideally, what's going to happen is our executive directors are not required to do work over break, but if they do, I'm going to have just an additional weekly report at the end of break for everyone to read and send out in the following weekly email. And then on top of that, we're just closing out the semester. I believe Rams De-Stress is happening. Director Silverher also did a wonderful job with his unhoused care kits today, and he'll be talking about that here momentarily. other than that, yeah, I hope everyone has a wonderful fall break. Thank you.
Hello, party people. My name is Alex Silverhart. I'm the Director of Health and Wellbeing here for ASCSU. I work in the Executive Cabinet. My office is right back there. It's also filled with stress balls and candy. If you guys ever need to de-stress, my office is a safe space for anybody. So if I'm in there, if I'm not in there, you are welcome to my space. Giving some thanks out to the D&I caucus for expressing some information regarding Trans Awareness Week. I think that's super important, and I appreciate you sharing that information, especially with all the people in the gallery right now, because I think it's really important information to share. You'll probably talk about it in a little bit, but I'd like to remind everybody that the Trans Day of Remembrance and Resiliency is being celebrated tomorrow with a remembrance event at 6:30 p.m. in the LSC Theater, which is open to all. In terms of my projects, 2 quick things. Today we made care kits for the unsheltered. Bam. So the intention was to have people make them and take them with them. That intention was not passed along to the people making the kits. So we have probably 200 so kits here within the office. We have a lot here in the conference room and then also up at the front desk. If you feel comfortable keeping a few kits in your car for when you're driving around, whether you're going home, whether you're in Fort Collins, these are very easy and nice things to give to those who are unsheltered if you don't feel comfortable giving money, or if you don't have money on hand or anything else in your car. I think this is a great opportunity. So I would highly recommend everyone taking 2-3 kits if you have a car, if you feel safe doing so. It's a great opportunity to give back to the community, especially in kind of the spirit of giving and being grateful. And then lastly, Director of Diversity and Inclusion Williamson and I are planning a movie night for World AIDS Day, which is on December 1st. We are also asking that everybody wears red ribbons on this day because that is kind of the ribbon for AIDS awareness. That movie is going to be The Normal Heart. I will be sending posters out hopefully tonight or tomorrow in the chat, so please keep your calendars open. It's a free movie, free popcorn, free soda. It's going to be really cool. Yeah. Lastly, I'd like to shout out Ava once again, iconic queen in space. She came to my meeting with one of the kind of director people of the Health Network to talk about the offerings for transgender individuals at the Health Network. And so hopefully she will be working on some more projects, hopefully with the help of me and some people at the Health Network in terms of that. So I'm very grateful to have you in the space and all of you. I hope you all are maintaining your mental health, getting through this crazy final season, and hopefully enjoy fall break and winter break as much as you can. Thank you and have a good night.
Hi, friends. Ooh. Hi, friends. Grace Krangle, Director of Marketing. How is everyone tonight? Good?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll make it quick, really quickly. So the front desk is working on putting everyone's headshots up on the website. I sent the link in the Slack, so you all have access to those. Akil did a fantastic job editing them, so shout out to him. I don't know if he's here tonight, but he's great. Alejandra and I have been working hard on some marketing material for World AIDS Day. So we're going to be, actually today we placed a lot of poster orders. Alejandra will also be working with Charlie on their SCPS video project. Alejandra's also working with Akil to create marketing material for the Groom Transportation Project. So Alejandra is on a roll. I met with Jesse to talk budget. We should have enough money to order some pretty cool ASCSU, what are they called, quarter zips in January. So keep an eye out for that. Those will be very comfortable, very fun. And lastly, we conducted all of the interviews for the Deputy Director of Graphic Design, and I am so excited for her to be ratified in a little bit. So I will do a formal introduction for her when we move on to that. As always, the marketing department is a resource for not just executive, not judicial, or sorry, yes, judicial. It's a resource to everybody. So please reach out if you ever have any questions, concerns, whatever, just let me know, just the marketing email. Thanks, y'all. Doing so good.
Thank you. Anyone else from the executive branch that wishes to report? Seeing none, judicial reports, Chief Justice Zachariah.
So for everyone that doesn't know me, my name is Marcus Zacharias. I'm the Chief Justice. I use the he series of pronouns here. I'll keep it fairly short. We're coming to the end of the semester, so a lot of passion projects are coming to the end. Isaiah and Jamie really wanted me to tell you guys that we hope that all of y'all got to vote this past Tuesday. Nothing's more important than getting out to vote, especially in local elections, about what you want to see happen here for Collins or where you guys consider home. Beyond that, we have another Coffee with the Courts on Friday, December 9th. That'll be from 12 to 3 again. This time, I hope we don't run out of coffee in the first 30 minutes. I'll try my best. We'll figure it out. It's also my birthday that day, so you guys have to come by, say hi. Other than that, last week I was at the presidential search committees with a couple of members of the community here at CSU. Rob already touched on that, so I won't get too much deeper into that. And beyond this, the court was really deep into some confidential information and business that we had to handle this week. For you guys, other than the things that we put on the weekly report, we also deal with a lot of AUHB confidential things that dealing with the outside student code of conduct process. So just sometimes like we might not have too much in our weekly report. That's because most of our week deals with confidential information. I see that the fight song is on the weekly, on the agenda today. So I'm very proud of you guys. I hope you sing it loud and proud. Thank you.
And I would appreciate it if we all sang it, not just myself. Thank you. Guest speaker, Vice President Sandoval.
I think she needs the. Is it just called SFRB presentation? Yeah.
Yeah, Marcus, you wouldn't be saying that you're proud when you're the only executive member last week being forced to come up here and sing it. So.
That sounds like a you problem.
Shouldn't have been around.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, but you're my favorite people. Why would I want to leave?
So you want to sing it again tonight?
No. And then I'll just do that. Okay. All right. Hello, y'all. I am the guest speaker. The presentation was sent out in the weekly emails, so there was a few things sent out that I will be referring to, but if you have any questions afterwards, I would be happy to take them. I have been getting a lot of questions about what is SFRB, what do we do, trying to clear up some confusion. So the Student Fee Review Board. All right, so what is SFRB? This passage was taken straight from our bylaws, and it says SFRB shall provide efficiency, wow, I can read, equity. Sorry, I'm tired, it's late. And consistency in student fee reviews. The SFRB shall serve as a liaison between the student body and the university administration in determining the needs of students and the levels and types of service they desire for the student fee. So SFRB is comprised of fee-paying students. This is known as voting members or student members. And SFRB is chaired by the student body vice president. So well. Okay. Just make it. Isn't technology fun? Okay. So what are voting members? Who are voting members? So students who are voting members are the fee-paying students and must be enrolled in at least one credit in Colorado State University. Any ASCSU member is eligible to serve. So that includes judicial, cabinet, and legislative branches. Students are selected to serve on SFRB, or I'm sorry, students who are selected to serve on SFRB, who are also paid employees of fee-funded areas, must abstain from any votes specific to that area. So for example, last year I was on SFRB as a voting member, and because I was part of ASCSU, I abstained from the ASCSU votes. The ASCSU vice president shall select the members of the board, and those members will be presented to the ASCSU Senate for ratification, which will happen later tonight. what is that word? The P, participation. Sorry, dyslexic is fun. The participation on SFRB is voluntary and shall not be compensated in any financial manner or gained any academic credit. So this means that you are serving on SFRB out of the goodness of your heart. However, during the spring semester meetings, I pay for food, so y'all eat during the spring meetings. So this is an idea of what the application process and the questions that I asked look like. So we have standard name, pronouns, cell phone number, because we have a group me, so I want to make sure that everybody stays in contact. Student email, just to double check that you are a student at CSU. The year that you are, so first year, second year, third year, or graduate student, and the major/minor, because I want to make sure that we have a wide variety of representation. Another question that I ask is, what are your interests in serving on the Student Fee Review Board? How might you best represent the diversity of student needs and perspectives at CSU? SFRB meets on Mondays from 4 to 6 throughout the fall and spring semesters. Are you able to commit to those times? During the fall semester, we have our visit days, which is okay if you are have to miss or you show up late to, but during the spring semester, it is essential that the members are there at that time, because that's when the voting takes place, which I will explain later. We also have members who return to the board, and one of the questions that I ask the members that is not on the application, but I ask them face-to-face is why they want to return and how might they be able to assist the incoming members. So this is the SFRB timeline. So during the summer, the vice president reads through the institutional fee plan and the SFRB bylaws, making any updates that are needed. The institutional fee plan is what goes to the Board of Governors that is created by Mike Ellis and his team. As vice president, I'm there for the read through. I ask any questions and I make sure that they have everything clarified. The vice president also reaches out to the fee areas and Mike Ellis to ensure the correct contacts are listed. This was very important because I did have some outdated contacts. So making sure that I did this during the summer was also very necessary. And then this is something that I chose to do just so I wasn't stressing throughout the regular semester, is I worked on the fall visit calendar and the spring presentation calendar. So I try to get the fall visit calendar out as soon as possible, so that way the fee areas were ready for us. They knew when we were coming, we had dates that actually worked for them. And then the spring presentation calendar has already been sent out, so those fee areas know which days they need to come to us and present. During the fall, this is when things get more lively. The SFRB applications go live at the beginning of the semester. The vice president interviews and presents the members to the ASCSU Senate. The board, as I was saying before, the board visits the different fee areas and taking tours of those areas so we have a better understanding of where those student fees are going, how they are being spent. And one question that always gets asked during the visits is, are you expecting a fee increase? This is very important because then that prepares us for what their presentations might look like. And then also another really important thing is the vice chair of the board is elected at the second meeting. So some were asking why the vice chair were elected. Some members of the board, in fact, were asking why the vice chair was elected so quickly. This is why, because it is in the SFRB bylaws. So the spring semester is when the voting happens, and this is when the fee areas visit the board to present their budgets. And if they are asking for a fee increase, the board votes on the legitimacy of the presentation and the final fee proposal. So legitimacy means, yes, they did their work, they answered our questions, they did everything correctly. And then a second vote happened, so that's the first vote. Then the second vote happens, finalizing, yes, you can have a fee increase, no, you can't, or yes, your fee stays the same. The final approved recommended fee package is presented to Senate at the end of the semester and is voted on to ensure that SFRB is following its process. So that's something that I will come to you again. It's kind of a lengthy bill. It's also known as the long bill for those of you who have been here. That is something that I will present to you all, saying this is what SFRB voted on. Can we get your stamp of approval? And then after that, the bill is presented to the university president and the board of governors for final approval. So this is the fun part. This is all the different fee areas. Yeah, it looks intimidating, huh? Thankfully, you don't have to stare at this slide because I have broken it down. So this, as you can see at the bottom there in caps, it says all of these numbers reflect one student enrolled in 15 credit hours and is an on-campus student. Refer to the fee schedule for part-time or 5 or fewer credits. That was the second sheet that got sent out. It has kind of similar to the previous slide. It has a list of all of the, let me see here, the part-time on campus, part-time off campus, full-time on campus, full-time off campus, as well as for the spring, summer, and fall. So this is the first slide. Okay. This is the second. So I want to draw attention to off-campus and Ramride. As you can see there, it says that last year's board voted on combining these two fee areas. This was because their fees were, or their monies were coming out of the same account, but they were as two different fees. So we voted to combine the two. So that way it would make it easier for them to keep track of where the money is going rather than having to keep track of two separate, or one account with two separate fees going to different places. All right, this is the third. So a lot of numbers, right? Well, this is what you pay as a student, that $1,328 and a penny. That penny is important. We cannot forget the penny. As you can see, there is a tiny little one at that base total fees one student pays because it varies by department, whether you are a graduate or undergraduate. Sometimes different departments, different classes have their own fees stacked on top of that. And then the second star, that number was taken from the assumptions provided in the January 2022 preliminary budget assumption memo for FY23 from the Office of Budgets and does not include part-time or summer students. So next January, this upcoming January, we will get a whole new number, but this is estimated of how many students are enrolled full-time at CSU. That $64 million is a rough estimate. That is roughly how much on the lower end money SFRB is in charge of, because we are in charge of all of those fees. All right, so this is kind of an overview of the final approved recommended fee package. So at the end of the spring semester, the Student Fee Review Board shall present the final approved recommended fee package to the ASCSU Senate. Again, that was taken straight from our bylaws. And then again, the fee package recommendation is presented to the university president. The university president makes the recommendations to the Board of Governors in the late spring. To my knowledge, and I also had Mike Ellis look over this because he's been the advisor for SFRB since forever. I can't think of it off the top of my head. He said that the Board of Governors have never deviated from the fee package. So essentially what SFRB approves is what gets pushed through, which I think is pretty cool. So these are just some common questions that I have had asked to me through students and others who can serve on the board. Anyone who is a fee-paying student. If you are a fee-paying student and you are enrolled in one credit class, you can serve on the board. This includes both graduate students and undergraduate students. And I want to make it very clear that graduate students can serve on the board because I've had questions asked, well, why not undergrads? All students, graduate and undergraduate, pay that same amount of fees. So all students have access to those fee areas. Another common question that I get asked is what's the difference between SFRB and BSOF? And I understand there's a lot of acronyms that we have to learn in ASCSU, ASCSU being an acronym. But BSOF is the Board of Student Organization Funding. So BSOF allocates funds to student organizations for educational programming, speakers, food/catering, and more. This was written by Jillian, who is our Director of Finance, and she said the $150,000 budget goes towards programming and events that will benefit and bring opportunity to the student body and the larger CSU community. The SDPS offices work with BSOF to fund events. SFRB does not fund the SDPS offices. However, as you saw, the SFRB funds part of the Student Disability Center and the Adult Learners and Veteran Services. Just a very small portion, and Adult Learner and Veteran Services is not an SDPS office. I believe Student Disability is.
SCC is partly an SCPS office, but the part that is getting funding is a committee underneath the SCC. It's not actually, if that makes sense. It's not the SCPS part of the SCC that's getting funding.
Thank you. And I kind of forgot that I put that slide in there. So again, no, SFRB does not fund the SDPS offices. The SDPS offices are funded through the general fund, which is a fund that is made up of tuition dollars, state funds, and external funds. As Ariadne pointed out, the Student Disability Center and Women, Gender, and Advocacy Center offices are SDPS offices, however, and student fee areas. However, the student fees only fund a very small specific area within the office that was initiated by students.
Information. The SDC portion that gets funded by student fees is funding things like the van that ASCSU helped fund last year. Those are the types of things that fund goes to.
Thank you. All right, so another question that I get asked a lot is what does a workload look like for your average SFRB member? So as I said before, meetings are from 4 to 6. I'll talk about the spring semester since that's what we're coming up on. Yes, those meetings run kind of late, but I feed you. I make sure that there is food at each and every one of those meetings. Members are encouraged but not required to attend the fall visit days. These visit days are meant to educate the members on the inner workings of each area where they are spending their funds, and a very common question asked if they are anticipating a fee increase. The reason why I say it is not required is because this semester we had a very unique situation where some of our SFRB members are also members / chair of a committee here in ASCSU, and unfortunately just cannot make those times. So that's why I said it is not required. However, I did talk to that specific chair, and the times for that committee will be changing so that way everyone can attend the spring meetings. Members are also liaisons for these fees, and these roles are picked by the member or assigned by the student body vice president. So with that, I ask returning members if you want to keep your liaison role for that fee area or if you want to try something new. If members don't automatically grab it up, then I assign those roles, but I ask like, hey, are you okay with this? Because I want to make sure that everyone's okay with it. Members are required to be in contact with their fee areas and gather any information that is asked by the board. It is by the members' discretion whether or not they go to in-person meetings with that fee area, whether they go to the committee meetings for that fee area, or if they just communicate over email. As long as they're communicating, that's all I care about. And then lastly, the Student Fee Review Board aims to create transparency between the students of Colorado State University and the directors of the fee areas that are funded by students. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I would like to open it with questions.
All right, we'll start questions with first raised placard.
Okay, y'all can't. Thank you.
Are you all still like accepting applicants for this, or like we want to run?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So I still have the application open. Originally, it was going to close this Friday, but because things got crazy and by my mistake, I did not send out the application. It will close the Friday of Dead Week, and then over winter break, I will be doing the interviews over Zoom. And then when we come back, that first Senate session, I'll have you all ratified, and then we'll hit the ground running. So yes.
Thank you, Senator Milka. Any other questions?
Y'all can't tell me that I answered all of your questions.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Vice President Sandoval.
Thank you.
All right, we will now move into confidence business. Will the parliamentarian please put 2 hours on the confidence clock? Okay, we'll start with the ratification of Deputy Director of Graphic Design.
Hi again, Grace Kringle, Director of Marketing. It is my pleasure to introduce you all today to Shreya Kairamkonda. Shreya is a fourth-year biomedical sciences major, passionate about community service and advocating for underrepresented communities. She started Club Heartbeat at CSU to provide music for retirement facilities and is involved in Iota Sigma Pi, which helps provide support and opportunities for underrepresented folks in STEM. While being a part of these organizations, she has been able to help run their social media accounts and is excited to continue doing graphic design work with the marketing team with myself and Alejandra. So I will go ahead and pass it over to her for her introduction.
Hi everyone, my name's Shreya. I use she, her pronouns, and yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I work with Grace and Alejandra and help with the marketing team, and yeah.
Fantastic. We'll open it up to 10 minutes of Q&A for this candidate, starting with the first raised placard. Senator Dinson.
Yeah, so what led you to want to be the director of graphic design?
Yeah, so part of the other organizations I'm a part of, I've been helping with their social media. I help run their Instagrams and I help make Instagram posts and flyers, and I just really like doing graphic design. So I also wanted to help with the marketing team here, and I really appreciate and like what you all, or especially what Alex, Grace, and Alejandra were doing. So I just wanted to join and help support them.
I asked to follow up to that. What is your background with graphic design? Are you self-taught, or did you take classes in high school, or here at ASCSU or anything?
No, I am self-taught. I just kind of taught myself how to do it.
Awesome. Thank you. Adios.
Thank you, Chair Trout.
Hello. A couple questions for you. What are your goals for this position?
My goals are just to help support the ongoing projects that Alejandra, Grace, and Alex are doing. And also, I think it'd be cool to like do something with like de-stressing in finals, just help people on the CSU campus feel more welcome, especially the students, and just help them feel like they're part of the community. And I feel like the marketing team can help with that.
How are you going to recognize your inherent biases?
I try to just keep that in mind whenever I'm making decisions. Also having conversations with other people, maybe people who don't have the same viewpoints that I do, and people who come from different backgrounds, just to get a diverse outlook on situations in life in general.
And how do you plan to balance ASCSU, school, and outside work, if that part's applicable?
I like to use Google Calendar. I usually have been balancing a couple jobs and like organizations for most of my life. So I think I've got a good hang of it now. So just communicating with my team members and just supporting them the best that I can.
Awesome. And my last question, It is your job to represent all identities, not just the ones that you hold. How do you intend to ensure that you are doing that?
Yeah, obviously I want to be inclusive of everyone and all identities. I've had experience working in DEI committees in the past and currently serve as a chair for a DEI committee for Iota Sigma Pi. So just using what I know and also being open to learn about new things and continue to just grow and yeah, be inclusive of everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And
Thank you, Chair Trout. Any other questions? Yes, Senator
SODI, S-O-D-H-I.
Sodi, thank you.
So what softwares do you use for the graphic design?
I use like Canva, Adobe, those are the main ones that I know how to use. I'm willing to learn.
That's all I use.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none. Oh, Chair Salazar.
Almost in the previous question.
Okay.
Second.
All right. So all those in favor of ending the Q&A period, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? All right. So I'll go ahead and have you step out of the room. And we'll now enter the 20 minutes of discussion debate. Senator Mocha.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I believe that she's a very qualified candidate. She seems pretty enthusiastic and excited about this job, and it seems to me that she pretty much is going to follow the projects that are already rolling and wants to continue supporting those. So I definitely support this candidate, and I'd like to make a motion to move to the previous question.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of ending the discussion debate period and going into the voting period, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? This motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to make a motion to pass this candidate with unanimous consent.
Second.
Is there any dissent to that motion? With no dissent, this candidate passes unanimously. Wait. Congratulations. Chief Justice will administer the oath of office.
Okay, so you're going to repeat after me, okay?
Okay.
I state your name.
I, Shreya Karamkanda,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
set forth by the Constitution of the
Associated Students of Colorado State University,
Associated Students of Colorado University,
and will rightfully perform
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Fantastic. Now on to the ratification that will be a little bit longer, SFRB. If we could have those candidates come forward, please. They could be introduced at the same time, couldn't they?
You just want me to-
By the vice president.
All right.
I was hoping for some just us together. That's fine, but.
I mean, I would entertain a motion to put these candidates on a slate. Okay, is there a second to that motion? Okay. All those in favor of putting these candidates on a slate, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Go ahead and present.
I think I have a question. All right, and then we have one person on Zoom. Alexander, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Speaker, how do you want me to do this? Do you want me to introduce everybody again, or do you want me to just read off their names and then go into the questions?
If you want to introduce everyone down the line, that's fine.
Okay. So we have Jacques, we have Justin, we have Adeline, we have Dane, we have Benton, we have Justin, we have Sammy, Ariadne, and then Alexander is on Zoom.
Okay, so I don't know, last time you had bios about them, or if they want to go down the line, say a little bit about themselves, that's fine.
Do we have the handheld mics anywhere?
That's a good question.
That's a great question. I will.
Can I call for a 2-minute recess while we look for the mic?
We could make it 5 and just chill. Okay, I would entertain a motion for a 5-minute recess.
For a 5-minute recess.
Is there a second? Okay, all those in favor of taking a 5-minute recess, say aye. All those opposed, abstentions. Okay, be back here at 7:48. Thank you. Just make sure that whenever we're on our recess, I mean on mute.
I am an economics major. It's my second year at CSU. I transferred here, hopefully going on my final year now. In the past, I've done some work with the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Ambassadors here on campus. And I've been really having fun with this process so far, and I hope I get to remain on the board.
Hello, everyone. My name is Justin. I use he, series pronouns, and I'm a third year studying fish, wildlife, and conservation biology. My biggest campus involvement is that I serve as the student coordinator for campus visits and tours for the Office of Admissions. So all those green polo people that are always carrying those big groups behind them, I'm a student supervisor for that program. I also founded and run the cross-country ski club out of the CSU Rec Center, CSU's newest sport club. And I have no direct associations with ASCSU, but SFRB is now that association. It's really cool to see where the money goes, and it's important to have involvement on this board from students from all across campus.
Hi, my name is Adeline Schumer. I am a third year student studying landscape architecture. I use the she, her series pronouns. I have an associate's degree in business management, and with that, I have an accounting, economics, and statistics certificates. My biggest campus involvement is I am part of Senate leadership. I hold the Women's Caucus chair, and I'm really, really loving it right now, working really hard on some projects with the DEI caucus chair and the Pride Resource Center. Super excited about it.
Hello, everyone. I am Dane Rossler. I use him, his pronouns, and I am a fourth year neuroscience major with a minor in biomedical sciences. And the things I do on campus are, as Peyton Deason mentioned, I am a peer mentor in the Body Project. I am also a physics learning assistant. I work in the CVMBS computer lab. I was also a part of this board last year, which I really enjoyed doing, and it is a really great time.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Justin Melka. I'm a political science major and a history minor. Basically, the best leadership or the leadership position that I think qualifies me for this role that I have on campus. I'm the president of Liberal Arts Dean's Leadership Council right now, and I'm really enjoying that. And then I share this Senate position. I also just joined this or wanted to join this, and I thought that I'd be a really good fit, mainly because I'm very open-minded. I can see both sides, and I will represent every single student equally while serving on this board. Thank you.
Hey y'all, I'm Benton Rossler. I use the he and his pronouns. I'm a first year master's student in public health. I also did my undergrad here. I did 5 years in chemistry is what I got my degree in the end. Minored in ethnic studies and environmental sustainability. I was in ASCSU for about 3 years until now I'm in grad school. I've kind of stepped back from that, but I decided that I wanted to join SFRB. Say like a little bit of the places that I'm at right now. I work for the Colorado Water Center, so I do water research, and I'm working on water equity work. Hopefully, right now, I'm trying to get that as a part of the research that they do at the Water Center. I also run a program, Water Literate Leaders. So I actually run this entire program trying to educate water leaders about how they can collaborate on water policy better, and especially like from that lens of equity. And I'd say one thing from ASCSU that I'm super proud of collaborating with the Pride Resource Center, Ariadne, and some other folks on getting that all-gender restroom funded that will hopefully be built this winter in the Clark building.
Hi y'all, my name is Sammy Trout. I go by he, him, his series pronouns. I am a sociology with a criminal justice concentration major and a minor in political science. This is my third year. I've been here for a minute. As many of y'all know, I am a ASCSU senator for the College of Liberal Arts and currently serve as the chair for University Affairs Committee. That's been one of the greatest honors that I've had in this space so far. I also serve on other leadership positions. I serve within the Pride Leadership Council, currently SFRB, and very close with the off-campus life advisory board. Those are just a handful of things that I've been on, and it's been a pleasure to be on this board so far.
Hi, I'm Ariadne. Favorite pronouns are she, her. Hopefully all of you know me by now because I've been here for a very long time. I am a political science major, majoring in, I don't even know what my concentration is anymore. I'm just here to done. I have a minor in legal studies. Probably will end up going to law school, and I hate that fact. What else do I say about it? I don't think I need to say anything else. Everyone in front of me, and they all already have their opinions.
Alexander?
Hi, my name is Alexander Samir, and I'm currently a third year here at Colorado State University. I'm currently majoring in political science with a minor in legal studies, and I'm here involved at CSU through Student Legal Services as well as African Union Club. I really enjoyed my time so far on SFRB and would love to stay on the board.
Fantastic. If you have any questions for these folks, we'll start with the first race placard. Senator Hill.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Which y'all candidates are ratified for the first time? I know we had who's not being re-ratified? A couple new faces.
Yeah, everyone except for Justin.
Oh, okay.
Justin Melka.
I have a question for you, if that's okay.
Of course.
Since you're new here, and I have made my decision on all the candidates. My question for you is, what experience do you have for
Point of personal privilege, can you just back up from the mic a little bit?
Sorry about that.
Pretty please, Senator Hill. Thank you.
What does that sound? Okay. Okay. My question for you is, what experience do you have with obviously you're in this, but do you have each I realize that, sorry, that's not the right question. My question is, obviously this is dealing with a lot of funds and a lot of money. So what you're trying to come out of it for, like, what are you trying to hope to accomplish in your position as a FRB member?
Well, as a new member, I will start with, I have a lot of experiences with this kind of stuff. I helped out with the Douglas County School Board in high school and their budget. And then Liberal Arts Dean's Leadership Council, I've been helping out with like some of the money stuff in there as well. What I want to see come out of this, I really want to see like just a lot of good funding for like areas that aren't really represented. So like students with disabilities, I want to see them heard. And then I want to help out with athletics and just see like all the funding that's going towards them, make sure that it's like useful and make sure that, we're not giving them too much or too little, stuff like that. And then I think I have a really, open mind. I can see both sides to any issue. And I think that I'm the perfect candidate for that because I don't really like see in any direction. I'm just truly an open-minded thinker who can basically go any way and see both sides to every situation.
And this is a question for all the candidates. I think there was one more question I wanted to ask before, but I didn't get to since my time expired. But my one question for everyone is, I know transparency in regards to student fees is a big issue. Like, for example, students want to see, how their student fees are being spent. What are your plans to make sure the student body knows, like, how their student fees are being utilized through transparency? I think, and this is a question for all the candidates.
Alrighty, Senator Hill. So for me at least, we've already received a lot of like literature from the areas we've toured so far, on like how they spend a lot of their existing funds. And I know previously there were other members of the board who have tabled and like kind of once I get a better feel for this and we kind of begin working through the budget come spring. I think, and obviously the weather warms up because nobody wants to stop at a table right now. I think we'll do a little bit of tabling, at least for my liaison areas where we begin to like speak with them and kind of show them what they do and show the students what they do, and here's where your funding's going, here's how it benefits you, so on and so forth.
Hi, so just really quick, just to clarify on that, it's not individual board members' jobs to specifically go out and market. That's specifically the chair, vice president, as well as the marketing department. We could individually reach out to individuals within those, but it is not in our job description to be the members to fully, if that makes sense.
We also aren't given the facets to advertise, like we can post on our own social media, but that's not the job of the board of SFRB, that's Vice President Samuel stuff. Do you want to continue asking the question?
Given this new knowledge, I will retract that question.
I'm more than happy to answer that question, just so you all understand. So there was, and also this was sent out in the weekly email as well, a publication that went out into the Collegian about a breakdown of where the student fees are going, how much of fees are going where. What I plan on doing is I'm already working with the Collegian and KCSU. I have a couple friends down there, and I'm working on putting together like a weekly report showing this is what we did to have that transparency. And then also during the spring, I'm going to be coming to Senate every week and giving an overview of what we did, what we talked about, what fee areas we met with. I haven't done that this semester because, like I said, we're only doing the visit days. So I didn't think it was worthwhile saying we visited athletics and we took a tour of Moby Arena. So I will be starting that in the spring semester.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield.
Thank you, Chair Oslam.
Alrighty. Hi, all. This is a question for the entire slate. How will you use your position to allow for diverse voices and opinions held by those who are often overlooked? And how will you allow for them to be heard, particularly when you do not hold any of those identities yourselves?
I think it's personally important when considering alternative viewpoints to your own to kind of, for one, empathize with those viewpoints and see what struggles they're going through. And, for one, here from the first step to empathizing is, researching, understanding kind of where they come from and what it is that they're struggling with. I think especially with impertinence to this board, when you're dealing with finances, I think it's important to hear where they're hurting financially. And, what difference can increasing that fee make? Especially for like places like the Pride Center or student disability services or any of these other fee funded areas that specifically cater to this with different identities and different viewpoints for myself.
I think for me, it comes to understanding how much space I take up in rooms and understanding where identities sit, what privileges I do hold, and how that can relate to how much space I'm taking up in rooms, and making sure that I am giving others who share different identities on this board and within the student community the space that they deserve for their voices to be heard.
Will you repeat the question just a little slower?
Yeah, no worries. How will you use your position to allow for diverse voices and opinions held by those who are often overlooked to be heard, particularly when you do not hold those identities yourself?
I believe taking a step back and recognizing your privilege and being able to invite others that don't identify as me, others that don't look like me. I think it's really important to allow diverse communities to be able to speak for themselves and air their issues. And if I can invite people into the space, if I can allow, like what others had said, like really take a step back, see how much space I take up in the room, see how loud my voice is, if I can help other communities come into that space, I can listen, I can be a great advocate for those people and help them out, allow them to have a voice.
So I personally associate myself with the LGBTQI plus community. And so I really know how it feels to be like kind of put on the back burner because people are like, oh, like, we don't care about your opinion, whatever. And I really just want to make sure that nobody feels that same way.
All right, so basically all my life, with a learning disability, I feel like I've been overlooked in some areas. And so as a person in any position that I'm in, I want to make sure that every single person gets heard. So no matter who that is, I want every single person to have a voice. That is something that I like deeply, deeply believe in, especially as someone who's been overlooked. And I recognize my privileges and I recognize that I am born with them. And I basically, I want to make up for that by learning about everything and just basically just making an impact and making space for people who feel like they're overlooked to be heard, because I was one of those people. And I don't want anyone ever to feel like they're in that position.
Yeah, in my case, I hold a lot of privileged identities, and I guess the challenge that I always give myself is how to lead with humility in any space that I do take up. And so that's really the core for me. I think also what Jacques had said is something that really resonates with me and I sit with frequently when I think about student fee increases and decreases and like how it works. I think about, what is the impact of increasing one fee area that may not support underrepresented students, whereas another one might have an increase that's necessary, even though that might have an impact on low-income students. You know that the benefit to those low-income students will exist, as opposed to other areas it might not. So I try to think about those kinds of things when I do think about the increase, decrease, or any change in the fees.
So one of the big steps that I've learned in being an advocate in multiple different roles is learning how to truly be able to hear people. Especially a common theme that I've learned is if people say, hey, this is a problem systematically, fun fact, there's probably going to be a problem with that. People don't complain about things for no reason. And so that's something that has been stuck with me ever since I really joined this space and starting my job as being an advocate. But it starts more than just hearing about what complaints are, but how we can put those into actions. And so one of the things that I've been doing as the OCL/RMRide liaison is leading with the idea of figuring out which populations are affected by RMRide not operating this semester, and other projects that affect other students more than others, some populations more than others, and seeing how we can get more students to be involved with that might be underserved by those projects.
I think it's really important to recognize that most students who are impacted by these fees don't realize that there is a position that they can come talk to fix the fees or to talk, like say, hey, this is impacting me. I try and spend a lot of time in the SDPS offices to just, like, this is not the part I want, but to just like hear conversations and try and think through solutions, even if those solutions aren't necessarily going to be SFRB related. When I had my liaison meeting with Mike Ellis, who's the director of the LSC, somehow that conversation led to a possible solution for the grad union problems that are happening on campus. And so I switched our conversation into, rather than learning about the rest of how the LSC works, I did end up being interested in it, I promise. But rather than continuing that conversation, we switched over into finding a solution. And I think what's really important is to always work to be dynamic to find those solutions, but also sit in spaces so that you can listen and try and hear them, not expecting students to come up to us, because students either don't know we exist or they are afraid of this space. And I think that's important to think about.
Alexander?
So as an African American, I'm able to realize that this position that I'm hoping to acquire on this board is one that has a lot of power and where I can voice my opinion. And I realize that from within at least my community, a lot of people don't get that chance. So I would want to share those ideas, as well as making sure that people from the same community and those who share the same struggles as me are able to voice their opinions as well, and making sure that I'm listening to those and adhering to making sure that I'm keeping to an open space as well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield.
Thank you, Chair Doyle.
I yield to redundancy.
Thank you, Senator Lowe.
I yield to redundancy.
Thank you. Any other questions for these candidates? That was beautiful, folks. That saved a lot of time. Chair Salazar.
I'll motion to preview.
Was there someone else? You're gonna do the same thing? Motion, sorry.
Say
it. Anyway, I motion the previous question.
All right. Okay. All those in favor of ending the period of Q&A, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? Fantastic. if I could have you folks get out.
Skip. Oh, why are you trying to swear up?
Also, real quick, I learned my lesson from last time, so I'm gonna leave too. Have fun.
And then Alexander, I don't know if you're still on the Zoom, but
You want me to head out?
appreciate it.
I'm back in like 10 minutes.
All right, I'm gonna head out. All right, discussion and debate, starting with the first race placard. Thank you, Senator Kilburn.
I think we all know the candidates pretty well from this and the previous questioning, and then Justin, we all know pretty well from the Senate. So I would like to motion a previous question.
All right, all those in favor of ending the period of discussion and debate, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, Senator Hill.
My placard was not raised for no, my placard was raised for a motion to approve these candidates as a slate by unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to that motion? Seeing none of these candidates are approved unanimously. Congratulations. Now, I'll say this. Could we get Alexander back on the Zoom as well? We told him to leave and he's been gone for like a minute or two. So. Uh-oh. Well, when he comes in, we'll just do that separately.
That's efficiency right there.
Yeah, go ahead, Marcus. Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of this one.
This will be a little bit awkward, but let's try to just do it all at once.
Hold on. I'm sending him an email.
I can send the email.
I'm here.
You can just give me the email. I can send it.
I'm here, Elijah.
Point of order, Alexander is back on the Zoom.
Alexander's.
Oh, perfect.
Definitely be free on a Discord. Y'all have way too many mics on. They won't work. Y'all have way too many mics on.
Please turn them off.
It's on.
Okay. Alexander's back. So Alexander, we're doing the oath of office. Just repeat what you hear.
Okay.
So just repeat after me, Alexander, and all of y'all. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. To defend and uphold. The rules and regulations. Set forth by the Constitution. Of the Associated Students of Colorado State University. And will rightfully perform. The duties of my office. To the best of my abilities. Congratulations.
Nice first day.
Yeah, I got you.
My ride.
Thank you. That's probably the fastest SFRB ratification we've ever had.
I know, I'm so proud.
Vice President Sandoval, we're now going to go over the SFRB bylaws.
What do you want me to say about that? You just the changes that were made?
Yeah, if you just want to go over changes.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to be voted on or anything. So.
Do the bylaws have to be voted on, or do they just do they have to go through committees?
You checked for the
Hmm?
You checked the Pretty sure, yes. There's a second.
Well, do they have to go through the committees? Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
So-
you can just expedite it.
I guess you could. Yeah. So what you do.
Information, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
My information is this isn't in new business, so is this not going to go? This is not a typical bill.
No, it is a typical bill. From my understanding, I didn't know there were changes made. So typically when there aren't changes made, they don't have to go back through committee. Since there are changes made, it would be under new business. but we could just get it done now.
And I would like to motion the expedited.
Well,
If I
make
can?
that motion after.
Okay.
So you could just read it in abstract and then go over the changes that were made.
All right. Hey, y'all. Hello again. So the abstract, it says that this is a bill to pass the student fee review board. I don't know why I keep calling it advisory board. That is my fault. The student fee review board, as stated in the Constitution. There were quite a few changes made, starting with the second article. Well, I guess starting with the year has been updated to reflect the current year. In Article 2, and I say we as the board, reworded that article and then also added a few things as well. That is in the red, sorry, on my screen it's green. The second thing that was changed was in Article 3, Section A. Instead of just plain members, it just kind of specified member types. Just some grammatical corrections in there. Another change that was made was it originally said that the number of voting student members of the SFRB shall be no less than 12 plus the chair and no more than 30 plus the chair. We took out that no less than 12 because in looking back at at past years, this year and last year, as well as a couple of years ago, there were not 12 members on the board, and that was consistent. So instead of having that minimum, we decided just to have that maximum, so we can just continue adding people as needed. We added that the final approval of the new student fee rests with the Board of Governors. The second section here, we just added / changed a few roles. So the ones that we added was the Student Disability Center Director, the Alternative Transportation Fee Advisory Board Chair, the Associated Student of Colorado State University Director of Finance. And then we took out a few things. So for example, instead of resources for Adult Learner and Veteran Services Director, it's just Adult Learner and Veteran Services Director. Section B specified as voting members rather than regular members. We added that you meet with the chair or vice chair twice a semester to give updates on how you are doing in classes. Now I meant to reword, so we would have to do that in committee. I'm totally okay with doing that. But essentially saying that you are student first and a healthy academic and personal life balance is key. And then we added this is part of the general duties. We also added to vote in the spring semester for the approval or denial of the legitimacy and proposals of the fee areas. We added for the removal, the SFRB, the student member will meet with the chair and the vice chair to determine the continuation of said student on the board. Again, just for some clarification. As you can see, we took out the associate student member. After consulting with Mike Ellis, we have not had that in quite some time, hence why we took it out, because we realized it wasn't necessary since we don't have it. Then scrolling down, let's see here. We just added for the chair's general duties to meet with the vice chair on a regular basis before each meeting to discuss any issues, concerns, or questions, and to meet with the student members twice a semester as a check-in and provide any resources as needed. Then at the bottom of the removal, we said in the event that the chair is removed, it is no longer the requirement of the chair. It's no longer the requirement that the chair is the vice president of ASCSU because the chair will be removed. For vice chair, we added taking attendance before each meeting. This was specifically for spring to ensure that we have quorum, to take minutes during the meeting and to record the member votes. We added this because we do not have a clerk. So we thought that adding it to the vice chair duties would be a little bit, it'd be better. So that way it doesn't rest all on the chair, and to also make sure that we are having accurate information recorded. We also added to be aware of the SFRB bylaws and the basic rules of parliamentary procedure, and to meet with the chair on a regular basis. So for Article 5, I believe that is, Section B, that needs to be changed to the vice chair. Shall be in charge of sending minutes to the chair, and the chair will distribute the minutes to the ASCSU front desk to be sent out in the weekly email to the Secretary of State, to be sent to the Rocky Mountain Student Media Corporation, and to the student members and any other outlets the chair and the board deem necessary. So quorum, instead of chairperson, we just said chair. We also, as you can see, changed parliamentary procedure. Originally, it was Robert's Rules of Order. However, we all know Robert's Rules of Order is slightly problematic. So instead, we just did basic rules of parliamentary procedure as agreed on by SFRB to govern the meetings, to ensure a smooth and accurate meeting, as well as to ensure that all voices are being heard. Then in Article 6, I believe that is the advisory boards. As you can see, we added a section to explain what the University Advisory Fee Board, the Technology Advisory Fee Board, and the Technology Fee, and the Alternative Transportation Advisory Board. This was all taken out of the document that I read over in the summer with Mike Ellis, and I cannot remember what that was called. It was sent to the Board of Governors. The fee packet, thank you, yes. It's late, I'm sorry, my brain. So going down to Article, I believe that is 7, SFRB responsibilities, Section 2. The recommendations shall also be included in the fiscal notes as part of the final fee package. This was added again just to ensure clarity for everything. And then some more grammatical errors. The budgetary expectations. If a fee area fails to present this uniform documentation, the board shall not hear the presentation until presented documents are modified to conform with the standard budget sheet template. This was added because last year we did have some issues with some boards or some fee areas coming to us and not having all of their numbers together, having really weird numbers, whatnot. So we made sure that we add this to, again, ensure clarity. Voting, so Article 10, who may vote, again, clarity. But we also, as you can see, there's that stricken out area. That was, again, for clarity. Candidates running for office, formal campaign positions, or campaign volunteers shall abstain from voting in the ASCSU budget. The chair shall have the final decision as to who must abstain in this circumstance. So essentially it was added because something happened last year that doesn't normally happen, and that was myself being a member of the board was also running for the president and vice president ticket, or on the president and vice president ticket. So we wanted to make sure that going forward, not that I abstained from that vote, but we wanted to make sure that going forward, anyone who is member of the board or who is and is also planning on running for any position within ASCSU understands that they do need to abstain.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. It's on the second page. Sorry, I didn't realize I was going to do this. Okay, so let's see here. Also down in E, the final vote, the proposal for the final vote. After the fee funded areas budget has been endorsed, it shall be placed in the fee package. Any fee areas budget for which An increase was proposed but not approved by SFRB shall be placed in the fee package without the requested fee increases, except for mandatory fee cost increases. After all budgets have been presented or placed in the fee package, SFRB shall take one final vote on the fee package as a whole. SFRB shall forward the fee package to the ASCSU Senate for the vote of confidence. Again, just clarity, making sure that all of the members understand what that is. Article 11, which I just realized that needs to change. Sorry. We reworded this because it was just very weirdly worded and the budget subcommittee no longer exists. So instead we put the budgeting assumptions on which the base of the fee request shall be consistent with other campus units set by the CSU president's cabinet. And then the last section, section 13, just added suspension of the bylaws and amendment to the bylaws. Suspension of the bylaws because last year we did have to suspend the bylaws because we did not have enough voting members. And then amendments to the bylaws, again, just for clarity. And that is it.
Any questions?
This is where I vote to expedite. I would like to expedite it, please.
Second.
All right. Yeah, Chair Doyle.
I would oppose expediting this bill because you have said while you're presenting this that there are some changes you would have liked to make in committee. And if we expedite this bill, it will not go through committee. I also personally have a few issues with some of the changes made that I would like to discuss in committee.
You bring up a good point. I didn't even realize that. So thank you.
How long is discussion and debate?
So that's what we have to do. We have to open. So I'd entertain a motion to open a 10-20 minute period of discussion debate if someone wants to make that motion.
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to allow for 20 minutes of discussion and debate.
Real quick, I would also like to rescind my motion for expedition.
You don't want to expedite it anymore?
No, Senator Doyle brought up a good point about Chair Doyle, my apologies, brought up a good point. So
fine to just send it to committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my
So
motion.
fantastic. So I will send this to Internal Affairs Committee. All right, old business, resolution 5204, improving the ASCSU Senate. And if the chair wants to go over changes that were made in committee.
Sorry about that. Yes. So for the most part, a lot of the changes we made in this committee were a couple small edits to verbiage, and there were a couple bigger edits where we added whereas clause, defining more in depth about the reasoning for why. I believe if you scroll down a little more, we'll be able to find it. Right there, that whereas clause was put in to see that we had created to acknowledge some of the concerns that were presented to the Senate, the next Senate session after the September 28th Senate session. And for the most part, I think that was the biggest change, like flashing back in my memory right now, but yeah. And that therefore clause as well. But yeah, thank you, I yield.
Fantastic. We will open 20 minutes of discussion and debate on this piece of legislation, starting with the first raised placard. Chair Trout.
I motion the previous question.
There's been a motion, previous question. There is a second. So all those in favor of ending the discussion debate period and going into voting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstentions. This passes unanimously. I would also entertain a motion for unanimous
So I'd
consent.
like to make a motion for unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, this passes unanimously. Bill 5207, the Groom Transportation Act. If a chair wants to go over the changes that were made there.
And I would like to add that there's a more recent version of this bill that was sent to Vaishnavi, but also I sent it to you, Nick, and then Recom to your email. That might be easier for people to see additional changes.
Okay. Yeah.
You might have to get rid of the, yeah.
Is it backwards?
Very cool. If we want to go over the changes that were made to the bill.
Okay, no, if there are any other changes. The only changes University Affairs made was we made a minor grammatical change in the therefore clause. We also endorsed this bill, which I do not believe was reflected on the, yes, just add the University Affairs Committee onto.
Point of information, is this just the EA edits or the conference committee edits? The combined conference committee.
Yeah, are these combined?
This will show the budgetary affairs edits and conference committee. We did go over this, but I believe that would be under the parliamentarian email, that one, because we just went over it this Wednesday in conference committee. The in red is the budgetary affairs edits. Yellow are edits that Akil was going to make on the floor. So just easier for everyone to see what he was going to propose to you all.
So does this have University Affairs edits?
It does not, it was not,
Point of information, was this sent out in the weekly email with these edits?
I don't believe so.
The budgetary affairs edits were, and the yellow shows new edits that Akil was going to make on the floor.
Were these edits sent out in the weekly email on Monday?
So the edits in red, yes, and then the ones in yellow are to be made on the floor today.
Point of order, in order to comply with the 48-hour accessibility rule, we need to use the document that was sent out in the weekly email. Thank you.
Point of information, that does not apply to edits made on the floor.
Yes, it does.
Edits made on the floor?
No, edits made on the floor is fine.
Yeah, he will be proposing these edits on the floor.
Yes, but you can't show the document to the editor, but he needs to say them so that it's read in full. For accessibility. So go back to the other document, please, and just copy and paste.
The yellow edits were just so everyone could easier to see what he wanted to write since it's a lot of words. So it'd be easier for people to read and for him to read off. So
it needs to be read in full.
The yellow ones in after we've made the edits and we've read them in full and explained that context. But because they were not sent out in the weekly email, they need to be explained in full and read in full and all of that.
The edits specifically that are going to be made on the floor, is that what you're saying?
Yes, so you
Yeah.
can use a document that has the red edits, the budgetary affairs edits, and then Senator Abdinavi can use the other document on the side to copy and paste if she wants to. But for accessibility, the yellow edits need to not be on that screen until we have made it and read them in full.
Yeah.
Also, point of personal privilege, I would like to request a different font color than yellow. Yellow is pretty hard on eyes, so accessibility wise, if we could switch to either a darker yellow font or blue or green.
If you're gonna change the color, probably not green for our colorblind folk. So like anything but green, because it's red and green.
I guess since they're going to be switched over anyway, and they'll be explained and read in full, once they're switched over, they'll be visible. Right. Right.
So the ground transportation.
Yeah.
So is this one? Wait, so what?
So what's going to happen are the edits that were going to be proposed that are in yellow on the one that was up originally. Those edits are going to be made to the one that was sent out to the email in the weekly email.
So just a quick point of order, because this bill was discharged out of University Affairs Committee on Monday and did not accept or was not within the 48 hours. It would technically violate how we do things, if that makes sense. So we really on technicality, we shouldn't be viewing this because it.
Okay, I just want to whisper him to explain it. Because this is urgent, because it's needed for a break, we can read it in full because that is what the read in full thing is for emergencies. We just also need to explain the university edits in full because they weren't sent out.
That answered it perfectly, that.
For university affairs, what I.
The edits wouldn't be on there, so then you'd also be. Because we had conference committee today, but they didn't have the university.
Well, I guess we could go into committee of the whole and worry about this. No? Okay, sure, go on.
If I might make a suggestion, can we just read the one with the yellow text and just have him read out every word in yellow in full and explain why he would propose to do it, just to make it easier on our temporary parliamentarian?
That's fine. Can we just make the edits not yellow, please?
That's fine, yeah. So just one document up there. All yellow font will be red.
All the yellow font, change it to red, just make it red.
And then just really quick, if we could go to the first therefore clause, just to make sure the recognizes was a change that we made in university affairs, so if that could be recognized as a change. Oh, just highlight recognizes. Yep, and red, yep. Perfect. That was all the changes University Affairs made. Yes, and we endorsed, and that's already on there.
Cool. So if we want to go through all of the changes and explain them.
Yeah, so the proposed changes that have been made to the most recent bill after it went through the committees were that a couple of senators wanted to sponsor this bill, including Clyde and Pratik. So their names have been mentioned up there. And the Deputy Director of Basic Needs, Kylie, and Senator Kyle also wanted to endorse this along with the University Affairs Committee. So those changes have been proposed to this bill too. And if you can please scroll down to the whereas clause. So yes, the change in the second whereas clause has been proposed as in comparison to the first whereas clause to make sure that it is clear to everyone that the codes aren't being misused or abused in any sort of manner. And in the third whereas clause, there has been an additional detail included for the students, especially who are in the residence halls, that they are able to book the groom transportation ride for a discounted price using the coupon code. And then, if you can scroll down, yeah. So up here in this whereas clause, we have included information saying that I will be going through the reports on a daily basis provided by the groom's administrative team, so as to make sure that the codes aren't being misused or misplaced.
Point of order, can you just read them in full as they are written?
Absolutely,
Thank
yes.
you.
So the administrative team of the Groom Transportation Services has ensured that there is a more refined verification process and background checks to ensure that the student fees isn't being misused, while also providing more access to students who need to be picked up at their residence halls. Regarding the background checks, Deputy Director of NET will be going through the reports provided by the Groom's administrative team on a daily basis to ensure that these codes are misused. And in the next whereas clause, all the students are provided. Yeah, so all the students are provided with one $80 round trip or one-way trip for $40 when the ride is booked online. Any student who tries to make a booking over the phone can still use the coupon code, but will have to pay $5 extra by themselves. And this change has been made to make it clear that the students can still use the coupon code while they book their ride over the phone, but they have to pay $5 extra by themselves. And next, if you can go down to the second whereas clause, which you can see over here, the funds will be allocated from $4,000 will be allocated from the Office of President Discretionary and $1,000 from the Diversity and Inclusion Discretionary to be used in order written with the amount requested from the Senate used last. So this change has been made in the budgetary affairs meeting. And then there has been another change to this whereas clause, whereas this has been a therefore clause, whereas clause before, but then this has been moved up in the budgetary affairs meeting. So that is one more change. And up here, and therefore here be enacted by, in this clause that the 52nd Senate recognizes this change has been made in the Internal Affairs Committee meeting. And lastly, there has been another change made in a therefore clause down here, mentioning that the unused funding, which was supposed to be returned back to the Senate by January 31st, has been changed to February 10 by the Budgetary Affairs Committee. And that change has been reflected in here too. And lastly, in the last therefore clause, there has been an additional name included, which is Ashton Duffield, the ASCSU accountant. So these are all the changes made. So in case you have any questions or concerns regarding this, please let me know and I'm happy to answer them.
And information, these edits that are in red are from University Affairs changes.
They are all changes that have been made to this document. They are not separate changes.
Yeah, both of them.
Fantastic. We'll now open up a 10-minute period of discussion and debate on this piece of legislation, starting with the first raised placard. Speaker pro tempore.
So I actually asked this question in confidence committee, but we weren't able to get an answer because none of us knew. Why is there an additional $5 charge if you do it over the phone?
Yes, so it's part of the groom. So it's part of the groom administrative team's rules as per their website. So if we book it online, it means that on their end, it can lead to more marketing. So they want the students to book it online so that the message can be spread over in like to a wider audience. So that's the reason they are charging an additional amount of $5 when it's booked over the phone. So that's the whole point that the administrative director of the groom transportation services team up here in Fort Collins has mentioned to me. So that's all.
So it's more meant to kind of like discourage you to do it over the phone and to do it online.
Yes, it's
Okay.
part of the marketing process. So
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Doyle.
So I would just like to say that this bill was widely received by the College of Engineering. And if there is no further concerns with this bill, I would motion for a previous question.
All right, all those in favor of ending the period of discussion and debate and going into voting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstentions, this passes unanimously. I would entertain a motion to approve this with unanimous consent.
I motion to approve this with unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent? Seeing none, this bill passes unanimously. Now on to the B bill. All right, if we want to go over the changes that were made. In my email. University Affairs Committee endorsed this bill. No changes by the committee were made. So if we could add University Affairs Committee as onto the endorsements list, that'd be great.
One more kind of personal privilege. I'm no longer the Internal Affairs Committee Chair.
So I'd like to add a point of personal privilege to have my name in college placed in the endorsements list.
I would also like to be added to the endorsement list.
What, I just did University Affairs and then I changed. Is it? Oh.
And then Kyle for.
Okay. Should I do names? Like,
Yeah, it should.
what?
Oh. Senator for veterinary medicine.
Senator Kama. And then College of.
And then I, Senator Justin Melka, want to be put on the endorsed list.
Medicine.
Point of personal privilege. It might be easier to just pass around a piece of paper, and if anyone wants to endorse it, we can just.
We only have a couple people who
Okay.
want to be involved. Veterinary and biomedical sciences. And then Adeline Schumer. ADALY.
Schumer?
SCHUMER.
SCHUMER. Senator for Services. And then Justin Melka. Did we miss anyone after Justin? Seeing no one else. All right. Was there anything else that was a change?
So the only thing that's changed, if you want to scroll down to the budget, we added in budgetary affairs, in case anyone didn't see, suits to the budget. I believe it's $900 that was added. So the original amount was $6,000, but we upped it to $7,000 in budgetary affairs due to that change. But that's really the only major change that was talked about. So other than that, no.
Fantastic. I'll open up a 10-minute period of discussion and debate. Chair Doyle.
If no one has any concerns with this bill, I motion to previous question.
I think Senator Melchior has something. So
Then I shall yield to Senator Melchior.
I request you scroll to second to last therefore clause.
Second.
Request on that date, which year we want to have the money come back.
Initially, it said 2024, but we moved it to December 31st of 2023.
I yield.
thank you, Chair Doyle. Do you want to make that motion again?
I would indeed like to make that motion again.
Okay. All those in favor of ending the period of discussion, debate, and going into voting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstentions. This passes unanimously. Chair Doyle, I saw you first.
I motion to pass this bill with unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, this bill passes unanimously. All right. Our new business, the Bill 5210, the signature of ASCSU. I think we've done a really great job being professional and kind to everyone. So if we could keep that same energy for this bill, that would be fantastic.
We could.
Yeah, so this is the signature of ASCSU. So on October 31st, I received an email from SGA in Georgia. They were requesting SGAs across the country to seek signatures from other SGAs regarding signing a name on a letter to the 118th Congress. This will be regarding a revote on Roe v. Wade or a vote on Roe v. Wade being codified into the U.S. Constitution. But these three, I passed it along to them. And I'm more so just a cog in the machine, so to speak. But yeah, so if any of you three have any additional thoughts.
Cool. So just really quickly, I'm going to make some floor edits as we did get some more sponsorships. I did send those to you. There's also been a request for another endorsement. Akil Hanidi, am I pronouncing that right? Okay, thank you. Deputy Director of International Affairs. Parker Doyle, Senator, College of Engineering Chair Constitution Caucus. Are you still requesting to have your name on endorsement?
I am.
Okay, beautiful. University Affairs Committee also endorsed this. We reviewed this as an unassigned bill.
My last name is spelled.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
And then
Like that?
yes. Cool. And then another one, which just came in just a little bit ago. You get everyone? Okay, I'm gonna wait. Okay. And then the fourth endorsement is Benton Rossler, who is a CSU grad student of public health.
Point of personal privilege, can I also have my name put down for sourcing?
Yes, we will add you onto that.
Thank you.
Point of personal privilege, can I also add my name to the endorsement?
You sure can.
And personal privilege, can we pass a sheet around for people to put the names on the? if they want to pass the names, of course.
I would like to move for a 5-minute recess, just so folks who would like to add their names onto endorsement or sponsors can.
And somebody
Okay, all those in favor of taking a 5-minute recess, say aye. All those opposed, abstentions. Okay, be back at 9:01, please. Thank you.
I will. Sorry. No, I mean. Kyle, was that you wanting to be added? Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so it's.
What's up, friends? Can I be added? You sure
can. No, so.
I'm not
Target
sure.
right, so put a comment.
Can I be added?
Yeah,
Yes, you
comment.
should. Oh my God.
And then some
Oh my God. Wait, is there?
And then Benton Rossler. And then another select one, right? Yeah. Rossler's.
Okay, just really quickly for efficiency's sake, if you would like to endorse or sponsor, please form a line right here. Pretty, even if you've already told me, pretty please do it again. Thank you.
And then public health, and he said capitalized public health, like literally all of them. And then it's, yeah, I guess so, semicolon. Why? This is a public health thing.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, and then Jane Dennison.
So she's for dramatics.
DINN. Yeah, that's right.
No, committee, change to that management, no. Right there, committee, stay on space. And then he was telling you about
DINNSEN. Senator, College of Business. Thank you.
Okay. And then Claudia was next, but I have, so, but Ozma's here first. So we'll do Ozma.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry, busy and cut line.
You got- they all-
It's okay, we've been typing.
You have to spell your last name. I got it.
I don't know.
Here,
Request for Benton, so that's just. Wait, are you putting my name on there?
Yeah, I got you.
Cool.
Ellie is also in the you want them to stay in line?
No, you can go sit down. I stopped you.
You're close. I was saying, that's what I told him to do already.
Kevin, no.
Milk here.
That's okay.
MEL.
Just
CH.
CH.
Okay.
Oh, I think it's okay.
No.
Okay, so
I misspoke. I misspoke.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's MEL CH Iowa.
MELCH.
Iowa.
Iowa.
Don't learn those.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel that. I hope.
Shut your more different class.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll find out.
Okay, and then Claudia. How do I spell? Spell Claudia's last name.
Claudia?
P-A-R-A.
ISL.
Also Senator Quebec.
Oh my God, you're right. There's so many. I feel like they don't even need my endorsement anymore.
I think endorsing on the floor is so funny.
I was just thinking
Like
that
with the
'cause
one
I'm
we
like-
just did, I was like, we're gonna pass it, and
Yeah.
all you're doing is putting your name
No,
on the
exactly.
legislation.
And I'm pretty
What's
much
going
this
on?
doesn't do anything after
Especially
you.
since through transportation, the bill, we're all gonna vote in favor.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit.
There's already so many people.
It shows how much support I have.
Because you're saying I.
People look at the bill and the history and be like, oh my gosh, people really like this one.
We like
50% of the
this
Senate voted to pass.
Yeah, wow.
I'll put my name on it.
How many does it need for it to pass? Is it 2/3 or just like that? That's what
For this bill, it does not need, I think we only like to see 2/3. It just needs a simple majority.
Oh, okay, just
Comes out more than
majority. Okay,
you.
that's exactly what I just told
So it should be easy peasy.
Senator for Native American. Yeah. Senator.
Oh my God,
Native.
there's so many.
Just keeps going.
Jesus. I love how many people come up here. This makes me feel a lot better.
I know, I feel like they don't need me though.
You totally do. All of the names. Okay. Next
like to
is
say
Dory.
something,
What is
I
your
will.
last name?
And I can down south.
I know, it's
And I don't
German,
know how
blame
to start.
Germans.
That's my issue. I could roll off, but my
Yeah.
beneficiary died.
And then that side.
Senator
Natural
for Natural
sciences, yeah.
It's a
Okay,
shame
cool.
that the letter will unfortunately just be scanned by an intern and never seen by any of the Congress people.
Yeah, I know. Don't stress about that.
Yeah.
Coming as in a congressional intern, that is what we'll do.
Yeah, but I feel like it'll be, sure, they might not say it, but they will hear about
Senator
it.
for
Yeah.
natural
Senator,
sciences.
semicolon. Okay,
Did I spell sciences right? Okay, we can.
Yeah.
Christian Coburn.
Is it like Christian?
Yeah,
Just double checking.
and then KILBUR.
KILBY?
BUR. And then College of Liberal Arts.
Senator?
Okay.
I believe you.
Okay, perfect.
And then it's an N at the end.
Okay, I'm just gonna copy and paste senator.
That's not at all what I wanted. Oh, God.
Is it good?
Do you think he's gonna
I don't know
come?
if you typed it. Yeah, you guys are next.
Okay.
We're already, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
We're trying, I'm not as worried about it now.
Yeah, neither am I.
Seeing this many people go up to you.
Well, also, it just needs, I think it
Me
just
too.
needs a simple majority.
Okay.
So.
Share Sudi?
Oh, for expedite, yes, but for it to actually pass.
M
M
SHER
SHUR?
ER
ER.
space
Oh,
Singh SINGH
INGH.
space Sodi SODH. Blame my grandfather. He named me. It's not my fault.
Senator College Representative.
Yep, I think it's College of Natural Sciences. Computer Science.
Oh, and computer science.
I mean, that's
drag me through the dirt.
So we could also put student.
This screams like
So put,
This is the last bill.
get rid of that. What was the major?
And then it's just like the
Okay,
hour
because
and a
I
half.
had natural sciences, though, right?
Yeah, general.
So I don't think it would count, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Just natural sciences?
Yeah.
Because it's college. Thank you.
Yeah.
You barely have the.
Next.
Alrighty, Graham Kelly, GRA.
GRA.
HAM.
Probably.
KELLY. And then College of Natural
I guess.
So this is gonna have the signature like every student.
Perfect.
The student government who passes it.
Adrian?
No, I'm already in there. I'm just nosy.
Okay.
Being dramatic.
What's your name again? Joe, okay.
Joe, do you know what to spell my last name? It's really hard.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
We're very American.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. He doesn't have a 4, he has a G pill. Oh,
Tragic. Do you want upward?
Not really.
Like that's
On the
I mean, the only reason I get it for is for the name.
Valid.
Yeah.
Just because of the name.
Yeah, I mean.
Just so I could be like, oh, Ford, I got.
I would only get a pet fish just because of the last name.
Okay, will you ask for anyone else?
Just really quick, Senate, is there anyone who has not been able to get their name added to the endorsement / sponsorship who would like to get that
Oh, you
changed?
do this one? and then
Any
you do this
additional endorsements or sponsorships?
one. Usually it's this one.
Come to the front, pretty please.
Cool.
I might have to talk about
What I gotta do?
And then also
Just tell them
Comment.
name and position.
And then just comment.
Really, you want to see it's still open? McDonald's. Yeah, but it's McDonald's.
She's bigger over.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I like McDonald's.
No, sorry, so I should. And then when I pick it up, I'm like,
It's like I was dead,
like,
so like I don't have to excuse.
oh my God.
I haven't had McDonald's breakfast.
It's like I still.
I think
I know.
Ricky, do you want?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Perfect. Ricky, last name?
Winston.
Winston, W-I-N-S-C-O-N.
UN?
T-O-N.
Yeah. Winston?
Yep.
Winston.
Associate Senator Fred.
Associate.
Thank you.
Right. Is it recent?
Yeah, comment, edit comments here.
Do you want to add your name onto it?
He's already on it.
Is he? Oh, shit, never mind.
My text message said that I won't. I won't be on voice.
Really?
Can we FaceTime you, or is that too tedious?
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that everyone?
Yeah.
I can do my name.
All right, if we could get back to our seats, please. Are there any questions that you have for the authors?
Just a couple quick other things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. Also really quick, we want to make another floor edit when you can. If you could scroll down to the very last therefore clause.
This one?
We will be getting rid of
Combined
combined with the attached list of suggested grammatical edits that do not change the content of the letter, but merely clerical edits that are not conditional of ASCSU signature being attached. We didn't get a chance to get through all grammatical edits, so
Also, they're unlikely to pick them
also unrealistic to like have them pick that up. Regardless, doesn't really matter, but that's being scrapped. If any of the other authors would like to say anything.
Hi, this topic is obviously very near and dear to my heart, and I kind of just wanted to remind everybody that your constituents will most likely be affected by this, whether or not they live in a state where it's illegal or they know somebody that is affected by this issue. I just want to remind everybody that you're not just representing yourself, and you're representing the entire body of students. That's all.
We can do Q&A, but we will be motioning to expedite because University Affairs already looked at it, liked it, and endorsed it. So.
Questions? I did see Chair Salazar first, Chair Rencher.
Hayden also raised this hand, but it's
Okay.
I don't know what point this is, but Treasurer Morgan, the next senator, wants to endorse.
Yeah,
the
we got
bill.
her.
We already-
That's fun.
Yes. I yield.
Is that it? Okay, Chair Rencher.
So in the writing of this bill, which organizations on campus were you in communication with to ensure that all student voices were heard and their opinions addressed?
Yeah, well, I haven't spoken to organizations across campus. I have talked to numerous students in the student body, and there is overwhelming support for this, for an action like this. I cannot, like I said, I can't speak for organizations, but there is definitely support for this bill.
Oh, sorry to step on you. I think it's also important to note that every single person in this room is spoken to their constituents and knows their constituents' opinion on this, because this is a big political topic. It's not like something that's obscure that we're not going to already know the answer to. So we didn't really need to be talking to other student organizations on campus because they're asking for ASCSU's signature, and we're speaking for our constituents, all of the students in the student body, all of which we already know the answer, how our constituents feel.
Thank you, Senator Lackey.
Hi, y'all. So the first therefore clause of this bill states, quote, "A vote for this bill is not an official stance on reproductive rights," end quote. I'd like to point out that voting for this bill is voting that ASCSU's name appears on a official, like a letter that directly supports Roe v. Wade and thus abortion. Because of this, that clause is false, in my opinion, and misleading. So why is it in there? And yeah, thank you.
So primarily the reason why that clause is there is it's just saying adding a signature at the base of this letter. It's just, we want Congress to vote on it, yes or no. That's completely up to Congress's discretion. That's the big point of this letter. If anyone else has a better explanation than I do.
I can say, additionally, these votes, and I've talked to Speaker DeSalvo, will be held in a secret ballot. So that way, because we know that it might be considered of controversial nature. But yes, we will be seeking for that as well.
So my question is more, this says that the bill, that voting for this bill is not taking an official stance. The first paragraph of the letter that this bill is voting for says, wrote this letter to support the codification of Roe v. Wade. That seems in direct opposition, two direct opposition statements.
It's not necessarily more so we're just saying that we're just saying that ASCSU itself is not taking a stance on this. It's more so on saying that we support putting our names on this letter.
Okay, so putting your name on a letter that supports Roe v. Wade is kind of supporting it, but I'll move on from that. So in the second therefore clause, if you could scroll to that, it says that President Robert Long pass on his signature. That does not belong in a therefore clause, to the best of my understanding, because Senate cannot impose that the president put his signature on anything. As we cannot impose that any individual person puts their signature on anything, and therefore including a therefore clause makes it something that we can do, and we can't do that.
So this was put in more for it as a group effort. In terms of that, the reason this is a bill and not like a resolution is because it's going to be added or the president's signature will be added onto it. That's something that was planned around with this. And so it's just saying with this president's signature signing into it. And that's something obviously the president is already aware about. So this therefore clause is more as a Senate and the president will be signing that, if that made sense.
So my understanding of therefore clause is that those are things that Senate can do or enforce. Those are like the main points of the bill. So this as something that's an aside from the bill that the bill doesn't actually do with or can't do, doesn't that belong in a whereas clause?
Because it's saying that the president will be signing this once it gets passed, it would be a therefore clause.
Mr. Speaker,
Thank you, Senator Taylor.
Why is it the place of ASCSU to be taking a stance on such a national hot topic?
I think it's important for this body to recognize that we do not operate within a vacuum. What happens just simply on this campus isn't the only thing that's affecting our constituents. We have a lot of out-of-state students that we represent within this space. The best way I can say is, again, we do not operate within that vacuum and we shouldn't act as if we operate within that vacuum. Regardless of how you stand on abortion access is completely how you stand on that and it's completely valid. But this does affect our constituents and that should be something that we do. Believe it's not on here, but it is in our mission statement to advocate at all levels of government as well, not just advocate for students in this room and on this campus, but also at the local, state, and federal levels.
Awesome, thank you. I yield.
Sorry.
Senator Hill.
I think my question is, if a definition of a bill is relating to monetary money, why is this a bill, not a resolution? Going back on that, can you answer that, please?
Because bills are not just money, they are action. And this action is saying we want President Long to sign this. So it's an action of signing the thing, even though it's not, doesn't involve money, it's still an action. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Senator Wright.
So just a quick point of clarification. I wanted to ask, this bill just overall is asking our government to just vote again, right? This really doesn't have a stance on what abortion is or how we feel about it. It's just how our government needs to vote on it again, right?
Yeah, so our signature is trying to say, we think that Congress needs to vote on this and it needs to actually happen.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Out of personal privilege, could the letter be read, please? It would be.
It should be in the bill.
It is in the bill at the very bottom.
I know, but if it would be read, it would be better if everyone understands since there's a lot of confusion with the type of words. Just a suggestion.
Can we take a vote on if we want to do that? Because it's going to take forever.
It is a really long letter. and
It's
Because
just
it was
that
sent
it's
out
long.
within the 48 hours, if folks wanted to read the letter, they would have read the letter.
Okay, so with that, Associate Senator Laffey.
Student Disability Center.
Thank you. So you guys said you didn't take the time to talk to organizations. Regardless, I know that there are organizations and other opinions out there that this bill is not, or I don't know, that this is opposing their beliefs. So as a whole body of a CSU, I say that as a person, you wouldn't sign a bill that you disagreed with. So therefore, as a whole body, I know that's a lot more students, but even if there's a minority to that, why are we signing this bill if not the majority of people that you can positively say the majority of people would sign this?
So I have a question then. When ASCSU passes nearly anything, there are opposing parties, but we still sign the thing and we still do it. Does that make our signature invalid?
I don't believe so, as this is going to be signed on something that's going to Congress and not our campus.
Right. So we fully agree that there are minorities in every case of every single thing ever, but we are trying to encompass the majority of students here. And that's the point of this vote, is to say that a majority of our constituents have said that this is important because we all represent our constituents. If, say, Senator Salazar's, Chair Salazar's constituents didn't think that this is important, he should vote no on it, and he would be representing his constituents in that. And that is the point of a vote, is to say, what is the majority asking? And we are signing this. There are always minorities in votes. That is how votes work. But the losing vote doesn't get to stop the passing vote. Feels a little, no, I'm not gonna make that comment.
And I understand that. I think that you guys haven't done the effort to talk to people and make sure this is a majority. And so that's what my concern is.
Time for Q&A, not discussion and debate.
I yield.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I yield to
Yes.
someone? I'd like to yield to Senator Laffey.
Okay, Senator Laffey.
So one more point in the last therefore clause. So earlier in the bill, you say you're gonna add ASCSU signature. That's a whereas clause. Obviously, it doesn't count. But in the therefore clause, you're gonna say you're gonna add the signature of the ASCSU Senate. So what's the actual signature that's gonna go on the bill?
I think rather than it being a signature, it's more so a statement of passage on what happened in the Senate.
Is it gonna say ASCSU Senate or ASCSU?
Here we are.
It will say ASCSU because Senate is designated to make decisions such as this for ASCSU.
Isn't the signature of the ASU Senate the ASCSU Senate?
Okay, it was a forward choice. Remove the word Senate from this. Not aesthetic, there we go.
So just to kind of jump on that really quickly, as the decision makers within this body, that's something that's reflected within the bill as well. We decide a lot of the things that this body does as decision makers. And then it's up to the president whether they vote yes or not, and then veto, all that jazz. So hope that answer your question on that, just to kind of clarify where Senate stands on this, where exec stands, et cetera.
I yield back to Associate Senator Laffey. I yield to the speaker.
Thank you, Senator Moko.
So point of like maybe clarification. I think that like us signing this, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all of us signing this are basically, it's saying that we want them to review Roe v. Wade. And basically that's not saying like our stance on abortion necessarily. It's just saying that we want this to be reviewed. So in that case, like, I feel like if you just support something being reread, re-looked at, then this is a good bill that we have to. You all can correct me if you want.
Pretty much, that's pretty much it. And folks can agree or disagree on that letter as they see, and I trust that y'all will vote accordingly to your constituents. But basically, yeah.
Thank you. We have less than a minute left with one more person on the speakers list. I'd entertain a motion to exhaust the speakers list.
I motion to exhaust the list, Mr. Speaker.
Is there a second? All those in favor of exhausting the speakers list say aye. All those opposed, abstentions? Okay, Theo, take it away. Senator Reese, my bad.
Oh, good. Hello, can everyone hear me properly?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. Because I know there's audio issues sometimes. So in one of the whereas clauses, it states any space of advocacy, no matter their scope or representation, are inherently political. Taking no stance on this letter is the same as taking a stance against it. So am I to understand that if I choose, or if anyone chooses to abstain in this vote, it would be counted as a no vote, one, for technical reasons, and two, as an issue of making a stance on abortion, because roughly everywhere as clause in here states some sort of way, in some way, that the letter ASCSU would be signing is in support of codifying Roe v. Wade. So could someone clarify both those aspects for me, please?
Point of order, a abstaining vote is a vote that does not count yes or no. That's just the rules of ASCSU Senate.
Yeah.
Thank you. And someone to address the second thing.
What was the second?
Can you restate the second part of your question, please?
That, yes, that by taking no stance on this letter is the same as taking a stance against it. And the letter states multiple times, support the codification of Roe v. Wade. As leaders of the future must demand that our future constituents' rights are established and codified now. That would suggest that abortion is a right. The overturning of Roe v. Wade impacts students and education in significant ways, taking a direct hit from students transferring states out of school. So this entire letter seems to be in support of abortion and Roe v. Wade. So by choosing to abstain from this, it would, by how this bill is written, it would be saying, I would essentially be saying, if I choose to abstain, I'm against abortion.
No, of order, Mr. Speaker. This is argumentative, not Q&A.
I'm asking them to clarify, Senator Hill.
So just to repeat what Chair Doyle said, an abstention vote doesn't count as a yes or no vote. It would basically be not counted towards the total of that. So it's not, by the actual sense of abstention, it's not a yes or a no vote. I'll let Chair Athey, or Senator Athey explain
Yeah,
further.
not sure anymore.
I know.
This letter is trying to say that we need to take a stance. That language that you're specifically citing is saying that we need to take a stance, and ASCSU staying silent is kind of problematic. It's not speaking to any single person's vote. It's speaking to ASCSU as a whole needs to actually decide on this.
Well, wouldn't the ASCSU Senate, the one who's deciding on this, essentially be taking a stand as the way the letter is written?
vote is to set their signature on it?
Yes, I believe is the answer to your question. Can you repeat the question just one more
It
time?
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so the way the letter is written, if ASCSU passes this, it would take a stance on Roe v. Wade and the issue of abortion. Am I correct in that, in that understanding? And if I'm not, could you please clarify how the way the letter is written is not doing that?
So we are stating in this bill that we are stating that it needs to be voted on. We're not taking a side, we are saying this needs to be voted on. And by passing it, that's what we are stating. Because that's the language within the bill.
Okay.
If I need to change it to be pro Roe v. Wade, I will, because I am not worried about that, honestly. But I think that it would make the Senate a lot more happy if we did it with just please vote on it.
I would also like to just quickly add, this is not our letter. This was a letter written by a different college, a different college government or a student government coalition. So we can't really change the wording on it. It's just putting our signature onto it with the other college governments.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. If we have no further questions, well, we don't, we exhausted the speakers list.
Quick point of order. Can we scroll back up to the top? Because I'm pretty sure Rory's name is twice on the endorsement list.
No.
Senator Lowe, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Rory's name's at the bottom, but it's also closer to the top.
Okay,
So
I saw that
we can
they,
just delete one of them.
Mr. Speaker, I was raising my placard for a motion.
What's the motion, Senator?
I motion to expedite this piece of legislation because I do not want to have, my reasoning is I do not want to have a legislative or emergency session this Friday. So I'd rather just vote on it today because a lot of people are not going to be here Friday for accessibility. I would rather us not do an emergency session.
We second that.
Okay. So Senator Renshaw, what do you?
Open to this discussion debate on it, of course.
Okay, is that what the motion was?
Yeah, that was my question, to make sure we have discussion debate on it first.
On expediting, okay. So is there a second for that? Well, that was your motion. Anyway, you amended it. Is there a second for that motion?
Dan, can you help Kyle?
Okay. So all those in favor of opening 20 minutes of discussion and debate on expediting this piece of legislation, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we'll open 20 minutes of discussion debate
Just
on.
really quick as
Yes.
an author. Also want to recognize that expediting isn't passing it. It is just moving it along faster. So particularly because there is a timeline on this. Given the fact that the committee that would review this has already looked over it and endorsed it. Additionally, members in this space aren't going to change their position on abortion access over over fall break. That's just not realistic for anybody, and I don't blame anybody for that. But to expedite it is just to get this through faster. It's already been through University Affairs Committee, which would be the only committee that would realistically have the jurisdiction to go over it. And based off the timeline, that's why I would say yes to that, but.
So we are in discussion debate about expediting it, but before we get into that, we have 5 minutes and 20 seconds left on the conference clock. I'd entertain a motion to extend it by an hour.
Mr. Speaker, a motion to extend conference.
Away from the microphone just a little.
Mr. Speaker, I motion to extend the confidence clock by 1 hour.
Is there a second? All those in favor of extending the conference clock by an hour, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I'm gonna call division on that. I'd like this by placard. So all those in favor, please raise your placard. I got 20 minutes.
I have
Okay, all those opposed?
I want to make a point of clarification because I think some of us are confused on what extending the confidence block means. Well, more this is an information. If we extend a
You see how far away my face is from the microphone? That's because of space.
Sorry about that. I don't know why. Okay, so the point of clarification for the confidence vote, this is just so we can keep going and we don't have to adjourn. Am I correct?
That's right, Senator. Where did that come from? Oh, I was like, who just put?
Maybe I spoke so loud near it that it just fell off.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, is that all you have, Senator?
Thank you. That's my point of clarification.
Okay, the no votes. All those not in favor of extending the conference call? Abstentions? The vote of 28 to 2 to 2 will extend the conference clock by an hour. Okay, we have now entered a period of 20 minutes of discussion debate on expediting this piece of legislation. Thank you. Senator Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I motion to expedite this piece of legislation because I do not want to have because I feel like that is what it was tricked for the emergency session this Friday was threatened to be put on if we did not expedite it tonight. Despite that, which is kind of a political move, that's why I motion to expedite it. I would like to.
Just point of information. It's not a threat, there's okay, clarification, they're the same, they've been the same thing for my whole life. It's not, because of the timeline on this bill, it needs to be done before break, and that is why we would be having an emergency session if we don't expedite this tonight. We would do the same for any other bill that has such a short timeline.
My apologies. Okay, I understand now. Thank you. Anyways. Yeah, I think that we should just vote on it. I mean, I doubt break's gonna, even the other point is I doubt break's gonna change anybody's mind, whether we want to vote yes or not, given the controversiality, I don't know if that's a word, the controversial nature of this bill. So that is why I'm going to want to expedite it tonight. So, yeah, that is, that is, regardless of choice of vote, just means that I want to expedite. I want to have it voted on tonight. Mr. Speaker, I yield and move to previous question. If there's no one else in the speakers list.
There is, Chair Salazar.
Then I rescind that motion.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Personally, I would not like to come back for another Senate session. Given this week has a lot of, I'm sure, exams and projects to finish up, I don't find that it's in the best interest of the body and the collective associates that I've spoken with and senators. So I would ask you all to expedite this so we can have a good Friday and I could go home. And with that, I motion the previous question if there's no one else.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of ending the period of discussion debate, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstentions? This passes unanimously.
Can I just repeat something really quick? Just want to confirm with folks, voting to expedite is not voting yes or no on this piece of legislation. It is just, we are voting on it tonight. Just want to make sure that's clarified with all folks.
And after it is expedited, we will have a period of discussion debate about the bill itself. So, so what are we doing now? We're voting to expedite it. That's what we're doing.
Correct.
So the motion that you made, we're already in that period now. So I'll do this by placard vote. All those in favor of expediting this piece of legislation, raise your placard.
Is that unanimous?
That's close. Yeah. Yeah.
It is. All right, it passes unanimously. So instead of representing and everything,
just open discussion.
Full open discussion and debate. A 20-minute period of discussion and debate with the first raised placard. Senator Laffey, Senator Melchior, Chair Salazar. Okay, Senator Laffey.
I would encourage everyone to vote no on this bill. Contrary to misleading statements made by the bill's authors, this bill takes a very dramatic stance on Roe v. Wade. You have only to read the first 3 paragraphs of the bill to see that. I'll read the first one for you. We, the student government associations of insert number colleges and universities in the United States, wrote this letter to support the codification of Roe v. Wade and the continued protection of contraceptives, access to reproductive health care, and legal reproductive rights. That does not take no stance on the issue of abortion. That takes a very strong stance, and you cannot be more explicit than that. I've already pointed out that the president's signature can't be in a therefore clause, so I'm going to move on from that. These are just some of the reasons that this bill should go to a committee and be revised to be more accurate. Having already pointed out that this piece of legislation directly supports Roe v. Wade and thus abortion, I'm now going to tell you why this is a very, very evil thing to support. I would like to encourage you all to Google a photo of a 10-week-old fetus if you can.
Point of information, that is medical misinformation.
Please look at it. A fetus is an alive member of the human race. It is not a penguin. It is not a dolphin. It is a
Point
growing.
of order, this is not germane to discussion.
Medical misinformation.
This is medical misinformation,
Which is not an argument.
which is not an argument on this.
This bill directly supports Roe v. Wade, and I'm telling folks why they should not support the signing of this bill.
Yeah, spouting medical. Yeah, but medical misinformation is not a valid argument. You can absolutely say you don't like abortion, but medical misinformation is not going to be tolerated in this space because it's misinformation. So it's not germane.
Part of information does have a speaker's discretion, so it's up to him to decide if he wants to entertain the conversation or not you.
Have fun with that, Nick.
See, this is the favorite part of the job. I get to make decisions that everyone's going to agree with. And afterwards, we're going to hold hands.
Yes.
And say kumbaya together. Fight, yeah, the fight song. Excellent point. I believe as chair that everyone represents their constituents, and if they genuinely feel that they're a voice box for their constituents, they should be able to say what they want to say. The conversations are made.
Cool, I'm really sorry to do this, but I moved to overruled speaker. I'm not really sorry, Nick.
I second that
That
motion.
needs a 2/3 vote. I have to step down while that vote happens.
But now I have to do it. I can't. You just get to hold the vote. That was the
Yeah,
easy part.
you just hold the
I
vote.
think you'll sit for the rest of the I'm really sorry.
Okay.
Point of information, are associate senators able to vote on this?
Yes.
I would think so.
Yes, because it's procedural. So we'll do this by placard vote. Associate senators can vote for this. All those in favor of overruling the speaker, please raise your placard.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, one on my.
All those against?
Everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Oh. One on one. Oh, the.
Abstentions?
No.
So that doesn't meet the 2/3 threshold. So the conversation remains trivial.
Congratulations, Senator, not silencing voices.
That was.
Senator Laffey, you may continue.
Thank you, Senate. Where I left off. A fetus is not a penguin, it's not a dolphin, it's a growing and developing human. Just like I'm a teenager, albeit I'm at a further stage of development. And because it's a human, it deserves human rights. Embryo, fetus, toddler, teenager, adult. These are all just words that we use to describe different stages of human development. Not whether an entity is a human or not a human. To discriminate against a human based on the stage of life they're in is a very dangerous thing for any society to do. As a society and as a Senate, we must recognize that a person's rights end when they directly harm the body of another person, especially when that person seeks to end the life of another person. Lastly, this letter is so radical, it doesn't seek to address any limitations on abortion whatsoever. 5 weeks, 8 months, the letter does not specify. For example,
Senator Laffey, if you could suspend for a second. If anyone wants to leave the room during this conversation, you're more than welcome to.
And we'll bring you back into the vote.
Yeah, and you'll come back in for the vote, but you can continue.
Yep.
please do not vote for this radical piece of legislation if you're against abortion in any stage or circumstance, as this letter that would have ASCSU's signature attached to it does not specify any limits or restrictions. So my point now is not to change anyone's mind. I realize I haven't probably done that. My point is to speak for the voices that cannot speak for themselves because they literally can't. And therefore they are the most marginalized and underrepresented ones among us. In my opinion, Senate needs to pass legislation against the practice of killing the unborn, not for it. When an abortion starts, there are 2 hearts beating, and when it ends, there is 1. That is not an acceptable form of health care for anyone at any time. With roughly 60 million lives lost since 1973, the practice of abortion has killed more people than the Holocaust. It has killed more people than died in World War II.
Point of order, that is absolutely inappropriate and non-germane because there are marginalized people in this room and you are speaking and dismissing our trauma, and that is not germane.
Both individuals will suspend. It was already determined that any conversation relating to Roe versus Wade or abortion is germane.
I'm specifically speaking to the reference to the Holocaust. That was what I was naming as ungermane because that is erasing the experiences of marginalized folks in this space, particularly Jewish people. And when anti-Semitism is on the rise on this campus, that is entirely inappropriate and not germane. That is not related to abortion. That is related to anti-Semitism.
Senator Laffey, I'll give you the opportunity to retract that part of your statement.
Can you tell me what that means?
Just that portion of your statement comparing it to the Holocaust. If you want to retract that
I will
portion,
retract that portion of my statement.
then you may continue.
This is truly the most relevant human rights issue of our day. Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Senator Melchior.
During the Q&A period, there was a lot of concern about representing the wills of our constituents and specifically seeking their inputs. I just wanted to read a passage from our Constitution that senators shall be responsible to their constituents and to seek advisement on a regular basis from the appropriate representative body of the college for which students elected. Senators, however, are not bound by the advisement of their respective councils. Senators retain the authority to cast all votes as they deem fit and proper in which the knowledge they have dictates their conscience. Further, the bylaws state senators shall be responsible for making reasonable efforts to gain constituent input and represent their constituents to the best of their ability. So, based upon this being a democratic institution, if this is voted to pass, then it represents the will of our students as we have sought their input. I yield.
Thank you, Chair Salazar.
Hello, sorry. Yes, okay. I just want to say that as ASCSU representatives, we represent all of the students, whether you stand by abortion or not. That is completely up to your own discretion, and I'm not going to invalidate what you feel towards that. Given CSU fosters diversity, equity, inclusion, and we did pass a resolution on September 21st, as mentioned in the whereas clause, allowing people, we're not even giving an official stance on the Roe v. Wade. We're just asking Congress to vote. Whether it's a yes or no on them, that's up to them. We are simply asking we're simply asking that we push Congress to vote for it. For students of CSU, we should be able to maintain and promote an environment that allows people that identify as trans, non-binary, and women to the access to their own bodily autonomy. It is important that we respect a person's own reproductive health and promote an accepting environment, whether or not you agree with Roe v. Wade. As students, like I said, as students in ASCSU, we represent the student body. I myself received the bill, the bill in Monday's email, and have taken it back and talked with my associates, and I have talked with Ava, Senator McCall of the WJAC, and what we came to agreement on was we're going to be the voice for the students that need the access the most. And whether you vote yes or no, that's all on you, but I'm simply asking you and telling you all that we're fighting for students and their reproductive freedom to their own bodily autonomy. Thank you, I yield.
Thank you, Senator Correa.
Hello, everybody. So I just want to put it out there that has, based on my principles of looking at it, I, as a non-US citizen, and since this is something that affects your country and not mine, I personally will be abstaining from this vote. While I initially planned on asking you all to vote positively on this piece of legislation, given the conversation that happened tonight and given the fact that a certain therefore clause states that it's just asking Congress to vote on it, but the letter says a whole different story. I'm not going to be asking you all to vote positively or negatively. I'm going to keep it to myself, but I personally will be abstaining for that reason. And I yield to the speaker.
Thank you, Chair Aslan.
Hi, all. So a large amount of this is surrounding the Roe v. Wade decision, which was recently overturned. In its initial case, the Roe v. Wade decision was was brought to the Supreme Court due to an abridgment of right to personal privacy protected by the First, Fourth, Fifth, Ninth, and 14th Amendments. Since this letter also mentions reproductive rights and contraceptive, there was a contraceptive case, Griswold versus Connecticut, that was brought on because, again, of a violation of the 14th Amendment right. The 14th Amendment states that no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of its laws. Since this is relating to the Roe v. Wade decision in this bill that we're seeing on the floor, it is important to know that while, yes, Roe v. Wade was initially brought forth and is about abortion and the right to abortion, it also brings into question our inalienable right to privacy, which is protected various times in our Constitution, and that the overturning of Roe v. Wade was seen by many people across our country to be an attack on personal privacy. It was also seen to be an attack on bodily autonomy, which everyone in the world has a right to have. With this in mind, I ask that you keep in mind the initial reasoning behind some of the Supreme Court cases brought to the Supreme Court, and the reasons that go beyond just personal bias and belief into our amendment rights and our constitutionally protected rights being at risk when these things went to the Supreme Court, and the risk of them becoming at risk again. As a member of marginalized identities who also holds a uterus, I believe it is incredibly important to protect bodily autonomy for any member in our country, whether it be our own by our own belief or not. The main thing is the right to choose, and that right to choose gives us our bodily autonomy, and that is the thing that we need to protect most for our students and constituents. And I know in my office that I represent, the Pride Center, that everyone would agree with this bill being sent to our Senate, and they all are behind the codification of Roe v. Wade. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield.
Thank you, Associate Senator Kelly.
Today it feels like there's a really heavy weight in here, and this is a very heavy topic, and I believe that everybody has their own look on what Roe v. Wade is, and I understand that, and I'm not here to sway anybody's opinion or change anybody's mind, but there is facts in this. This bill, even though a lot of people are saying that in the letter it's controversy, this bill is just meant to put our name on something, to review it, to say they want to review Roe versus Wade. In what Senator Lackey was talking about, the reasons for abortion are more than just, I do not want this kid anymore. Their reasons for abortion are the child has a birth defect, and if they were to give birth to this child, the mother will die. A child, there can be a 12-year-old child that has a kid, and if she comes to terms to it, she could die. There's multiple reasons that abortion can happen. I don't want to get too political on this, but there's multiple reasons. You can look them up for why abortion is needed and still should be legal. But in saying this, I believe that if you think in representing your college, it will be you should vote yes on this, then you should vote yes on this. No way in any sense, because that's just what it should be.
Thank you, Associate Senator Kelly. We have a minute left on the clock. That was 20 minutes of discussion debate. We still have a lot of people on the speakers list, so I'd entertain a
A
motion to
motion
exhaust.
to
it.
exhaust the speakers list.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All those in favor of exhausting the speakers list, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstentions? Okay. Senator Lowe. Pardon?
So this is a controversial topic, and I would know this best because I represent students with disabilities. And abortion is one of the hottest topics in our community. This is a hot topic because there's many of us who are facing prenatal screenings that end up terminating pregnancies, particularly targeting people with Down syndrome and other identifiable genetic conditions. I live with such an identifiable genetic condition. I also want everyone in the room to see that both of the senators from the Student Disability Center are representing this piece of legislation or endorsing this legislation. And our constituents have the most complicated relationship with this topic because of the way abortion functions as a tool of eugenics in this country. And on the flip side, there are many people with disabilities who are now losing access to life-saving medications, particularly that help suppress autoimmune conditions. These medications are used in abortions and also to help treat chronic health conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, migraines, and other incredibly painful conditions that often drive people to take their own lives because they are in that amount of pain. So I want to encourage people to vote in the interests of their constituencies. There is a reason that I endorse this and I will be voting yes, and I want to encourage others to do so. It's because this is an incredibly complex topic that has impacted multiple areas of privacy. One part of the Roe v. Wade decision that impacted people with disabilities was the right to privacy, which HIPAA, your right to medical privacy, was derived directly from this case. For those reasons, I know that this is supported within my constituency because many of us are concerned about losing access to medications we need to manage autoimmune conditions and chronic pain, as well as our right to medical privacy due to the fact that people with disabilities face a huge amount of discrimination seeking employment and have the highest rates of unemployment. So I want to encourage people to vote in the interests of their constituencies tonight. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield.
Thank you, Chair Rencher.
I wanted to read one of the ending paragraphs of the actual letter that ASCSU signature will be put on, since there's been some discussion on this and what this letter actually will do. This paragraph says, "We ask you to introduce and pass legislation that ensures access and protection of the legal acquisition and possession of contraceptives, satisfactory reproductive care, and the capacity to exercise such rights under the protection of medical and governmental realms. We urge you to codify Roe v. Wade. We urge you to protect the right to choose freely." So nowhere in this letter that I read does it say, we want you to just revote on Roe v. Wade. This is asking the Supreme Court and Congress, the Congress to take a stance on this position. It's not just saying reconsider it. And as representatives of a very large college, we cannot put our signature on something that is in opposition to so many student voices on our campus. I've talked to many students on campus about issues like this, student organizations that have strong opinions on this. And since these organizations were not contacted in the review of this letter, I don't think their representation was properly given in this letter. So I believe this letter, ASCSU, we can not put our signature on it since we have not done our responsibility to talk to all of our constituents, hear their opinions, and make sure they're heard. I think if this letter were phrased in a way where it's like, we urge you to review Roe v. Wade, that would be better since it's taking less of a stance. But since there's that contradiction, I don't think this letter is consistent. So I think a no vote would be better on this. And we could revisit this topic if it were done in a less rushed manner and included more student voices.
Point of order, it's not the responsibility of authors to discuss with their constituents. It is the responsibility of all senators. We have all seen this bill. It was on Monday. We all had time to go and discuss with our constituents and organizations if we so choose. If we did not choose to do so, then we really cannot go and make an argument stating that we cannot pass this bill because we did not do our jobs.
I would like to add on that I'm talking about constituents that I have spoken to and they would not.
Point of
approve
personal
this.
privilege, Senator Rory says the city of Fort Collins adopted a resolution 5-2 in support of the right to access abortion.
Continue. Chair.
I yield.
Senator Mucka.
So I just want to talk to you all. First off, this is a heavy topic. I like how we're keeping it pretty low key right now. It's not erupting anything. So thank you all for that. What I'd like to point out though, is basically if this gets passed through, we're basically having them like relook at Roe v. Wade, and Roe v. Wade being passed through, even when Roe v. Wade was in effect, it didn't make law for the whole United States. That was left up to individual states to make that decision. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I'm right. So basically by doing that, the states would decide. And if you're a big supporter, like I am, like freedom and, you know, making people's own decisions and voting for what they want, I think that this should go through and this bill should be supported.
Point of information, I believe that I said that right.
Yep.
Yes, point of information or point of clarification, sorry, I'm so sorry. The original Roe v. Wade decision did place requirements upon individual states. The requirement was in the first trimester of pregnancy, the state may not regulate the abortion decision. Only the pregnant woman and her attending physician can. In the second trimester, the state may impose regulations on abortion that are reasonably related to maternal health. And in the third trimester, once the fetus reach the point of viability, the state may regulate or prohibit them entirely. So there was like a sliding scale of regulation.
And then I think the point of confusion talking about what states can do, that's what the reversing of Roe versus Wade. So there wasn't that federal threshold. Now it's up to states. Do you yield, Senator Mucka?
Yes, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Doyle?
So it is of my opinion that any further discussion on this topic is kind of pointless. Nothing that we say in this space is going to change people's minds on abortion. It is a complex issue that a lot of us have had numerous opportunities to think about and learn over their life. And one brief discussion in a Senate space is not going to change anyone's mind. And so to that end, I motioned a previous question to just move on to voting.
Seconded.
Okay. All those in favor of ending the period of discussion, debate, and moving to voting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay. We are now in a vote.
Mr. Speaker, can we do this by?
Mr. Speaker, as I talked with my colleagues, we needed 2/3 because by default, the bylaws, we need to have it roll call. Can we need a motion to do it by secret ballot if that's what we want to do. That's a point of clarification.
That was going to be my motion to do it by secret ballot rather than roll call vote. Just for folks who really either, they don't want to express how they feel on that for their safety within the space.
I agree. So all those in favor of doing this by secret ballot vote versus a roll call vote, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstentions. This will be done by secret ballot. And again, a yes vote means you support this piece of legislation. No vote means you don't. Abstention means neither.
I don't think that people would be happy with the parliamentarian with an offer of this, so you.
I motion for a 5-minute recess while the votes are counted.
I second that motion.
All those in favor of doing a 5-minute recess after votes are counted, while votes are being counted, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Please don't move for the time being, because I have to be very cognizant of the way I hand these out. So please stay seated until I'm done handing these out.
That should take about 2 minutes. So everyone be back at 10:10. I don't think we need parliamentary. Well, just to count the votes on here, but.
Since she's left, you can just do it.
I know we're on break, but how should we vote on Zoom? Is this private message or should we do this on Slack? Sorry, point of clarification or information.
You're fine, Senator Lowe. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so what you can do is there's an option on Zoom to privately message the host. So privately message the host what your vote is. We're not sharing on the TV right now, so your vote will only go to the host and no one else.
Awesome, thank you.
So what they're gonna do is they're just gonna send you private chats with their votes. And then just write down whatever your vote is. Oh, it's a weird one, yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Do I do like this?
Just do a tab. Just title it Zoom votes. Oh, maybe stop sharing.
No, they can't see the.
Oh, they can't see the private Zoom chat?
Yeah.
Okay, thank God. I was like,
Yeah, it's too late to fix it.
yeah.
That's Rory's flag.
You don't think I'm an associate?
Yeah.
But the people who like.
It just means.
Oh, yeah. We were told they were going to be associate.
And for easeability, I'm gonna come to each row and collect them myself. And accessibility.
I'm gonna help you.
And I just sent out a Slack message, but I'll tell you all right now, there will be no special session on Friday.
There's none left.
I'll do it.
Pretty good. I mean, great. We didn't have only. I apologize. I was gonna text you. I typed it all off.
Well, when we go into recess, we'll just meet.
Yeah.
I said sounds like a lot.
I just did a Google.
I just can't my funky little magic word.
I didn't expect it to be.
I aspire to start.
What a fun job.
Yeah.
I love it.
I enjoy everything more than accounting. That's what
Everybody should
stunning.
be able to speak.
I mean, you're heavily convinced already, and it's day one.
I don't necessarily use it, just say, like, when I carry it.
You have on like, you have on the boat tonight. It's fine. You say no, yeah, are you okay? Okay, are you okay? You can get some culinary now, just lay on the floor.
So we're still in the process of collecting ballots, but since it took longer than anticipated, be back at 10:15.
Thank you. Are you? I am happy that you're okay.
Is that all of them?
I was waiting for you to lay on the floor.
So prepared to say.
So really rehearsed it. It's okay.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
The only bill that I've understood.
Unnecessary comment. I don't like, so it's like, it's not like a prejudiced thing, it's just kind of like, why are you saying that? Just like you're not to go home, you want to, we can too.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know, I'm so angry about it. Usually I'm just like, whatever, it doesn't affect me.
You mean what?
I just
You mean
feel,
what she was saying?
no, what Rutherford said, where he was just like, great way to let everyone's voices be heard. And I'm just like, dude, everybody has their own reasons for voting. Don't stereotype everyone and be like, oh, it's because you don't want the voice. No, that's not it at all.
Yeah, when he said that, I'm like, that's
Are
not
y'all
right.
doing okay? Okay.
Just gets under my goddamn.
Yeah,
Usually I'm not
when he
that
said that,
upset
I'm
about
like,
it.
that's not why I raised my flag.
That's not why I raise my flag. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Don't stereotype. That's what everybody thinks on this side.
No.
Oh my God, I do like so angry about it.
Yeah, no.
Politics.
It's fine. I missed most of it
You know-
because I stepped out when Rory started speaking, so I was like, I need to take a hot break.
I
Yeah.
was just like, I hate it because now it's like the state, like just like.
It's, yeah.
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 That's the whole thing. I don't care. Please.
Yeah. People are gonna vote how they're gonna vote. It doesn't go right.
Anyway, let me take a breather. Well, I don't know.
I mean, there's just calling it out would have just made it feel longer.
Yeah,
It was
no,
a
absolutely.
3-second remark.
Absolutely. I know, but it's like.
Wait, who?
She posted it on Instagram. Do not do this. You know,
Hey, can you send that
for me
to me?
unravel this. Don't ever do this again, please.
We wrapped it up.
Oh, that's probably mine. To be honest.
No.
Because I did that.
Oh, no. She literally posted it.
Probably
You
Okay, we
send that-
did a
can you send that
dance.
to
We
me,
did a
please?
TikTok dance today at work because I was bored. I don't know if she'll accept your follow request, but I can give you because she's very specific.
Oh, I don't know who she is.
Carolina.
Oh, it's,
Career Center Carolina.
oh, I think I know her.
Yeah.
I think I follow her on Instagram.
Really? No.
No, not
Carolina.
Carolina. I saw Carolina.
The mic's on.
Yeah,
because I want to know.
I don't think we said.
I don't get those shits. Are you kidding? But he would look at me. And the entire time I was staring him down.
Damn, I just gave away all my life secrets.
Make sure we don't forget.
Dun, dun, dun.
Wow. Don't forget I'm here though once we start because it's like you're that messenger every watching on Zoom. Like I can't hear it.
Oh, I'm hungry.
I know, I'm really ready.
Me too.
I just want to see how this vote goes through, and then I might dip.
Panda Espresso.
Tell her you feel talking.
I'm expressing something.
No.
Even though I got it the other day.
No,
it's me.
you have
Your
been
excuse
expressing.
names.
What?
What's your name?
My name?
Yes.
You don't know my name?
I don't, yeah.
Reham.
Yes.
Yeah. I was just sitting next to you.
I know,
At 6.
and I forgot it. That
Yeah.
was great. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And what's your name?
Asma, ASMA.
Thank you.
Do you need pronunciation?
Good, I hope you heard all those points.
Hearing it and then maybe seeing it would make.
Do you remember my name?
It's
It's
so
pretty easy.
unique.
It is pretty easy.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, anyway.
It's hard
Oh,
to pronounce.
I don't think he remembers it.
I know.
Well, if it helps, I don't remember yours.
Again, yeah.
Okay, this is Joe. This is Evan.
I
Joe
knew it
and
was
Evan,
Joe or
Evan,
Rory,
Joe.
so
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm bad with names.
So am I.
Like, I take no offense if someone forgets my name.
Yeah, well, yeah, same. I'm so bad with names.
Just don't wait for the only issue is like, if you know my name and you get it wrong, then I might get nervous. I'm like, come on, sit it down. When I've been called Ethan, I'm like, where did you get Ethan? Like, Devin, I was fine with it. It's like, Ivan is Devin, I'm so
He's going to camp. He is single-minded.
It's okay because he left early. He's probably just not feeling good. Like he still isn't feeling good. He's on antibiotics. But
He's also RND.
Yeah, he might have had. He might have.
According to that.
Yeah.
He left a little sign.
Yeah. So he's on duty right now.
So
He's on duty right now.
I don't. This letter isn't that deep. It's not like we're making legislation on
No,
it.
it's like vote which one to vote. Like you know what I'm saying? Unless it's I'm not changing anybody's minds. Just
He's
like
done
talking
saying
about talking about.
When you look up pictures with a guy.
So was the whole thing as they heard me on Zoom? What was the microphone thing?
I don't know. It was like on like that. I don't know. But I don't think they heard anything. Right.
Hello.
Right. Where's the Zoom?
Oh, is it that? Like that?
How do I get to the Zoom though? Why is it? How do we get to the Zoom?
I think it's the.
I think we should have picked a better parliamentarian.
Shut up. Wait, why isn't it letting me onto the Zoom? Oh. Yeah, and then how? I want to get people's chats off.
I think it's just that. Maybe.
I'll try not to click on chats.
All right. So by a vote of 24 to 8 to 2, this bill passes.
Over here, front. Front.
We're now doing any roll call, so I will wait for Speaker Pro Tempore to come back unless.
I motion to have any roll call, saying a starting roll call.
Is there a second for that?
I second that.
Okay.
No.
All those,
Can you amend it to add people who got here?
I can.
okay. So all those in favor of using any roll call as beginning a roll call with the contingency that people who are here are put on roll call. Okay. So everyone in favor of that say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? All right, this motion passes. 3 people is not accurate division to sway a vote. Okay, so we'll use any roll call as beginning roll call. Caucus report, Women's Caucus. Chair Schumer, Women's Caucus.
Hi, I'm sorry. I did not hold Women's Caucus this week. I was working on a project that I am also working with the Pride Resource Center and the DNI Caucus. We are still shooting to put all bathrooms or all products in all bathrooms. I have compiled a list of buildings, floor location, room location, and whether or not they need products in a dispenser. If you can still keep a lookout for places that you frequent and just shoot me an email, say, hey, this area has them, does not. That would be super, super helpful. The list is growing super fast. I didn't think that I would get so much help on it, and it's been super nice. Thanks for your help, and I yield.
Thank you, Constitution Caucus.
Hello, everyone. I will make this brief. Constitution Caucus tomorrow will be reviewing proposed changes to Articles 2 and 3. And then we'll also look over Article 6, special committees. If you have any opinion on how special committees are run, please make sure to turn up and share your opinion. That is all. I yield.
Thank you, DNI caucus.
You gave a report at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Committee reports, internal.
Hi all. So Internal Affairs this past Monday went over Bill 5209 DNI caucus to DEI Affairs Committee. That bill was discharged with an 8-0 vote. We also elected the vice chair, which is Associate Senator for the Pride Resource Center, Ellie Lutz. In the next week, we are going to be looking over the bill that was presented to us today, not bill, sorry, SFRB bylaws. That will be Monday, I believe the week after fall break, which I cannot recall the date of, the 28th, noon to 1 p.m. Please show up. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Budgetary.
Budgetary Affairs is meeting tomorrow, 5 to 6 p.m. in the conference room as usual, and we'll be going over the CSU PD Town Hall bill, the CPR bill, and time permitting the DNI caucus to committee bill.
Thank you, University.
Good evening, y'all. University Affairs Committee reviewed bills 5207 and 5208 and discharged both of them. Due to next week being fall break, University Affairs Committee will not be meeting. Don't worry about that. As of right now, though, we do not have any legislation on the docket. I'm currently deciding on if University Affairs will meet on the Monday we come back to hold a legislation writing session or just cancel the meeting that week. I'll keep you all updated in both the Slack channels. But let me know which one you have a preference on. If you have legislation you'd like to bring to committee to look at, anything like that. That is all I have for tonight. I'm not doing a senator report to the joy of so many people. Thank you all for your ears. Thank you for an incredible night. Have a great rest of your week and have a relaxing break. Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Thank you. Speaker Pro Tempore, do you have a report?
I'm proud of you always.
Thank you. So first, I want to thank Senator Abdunabi for being the parliamentarian. I was very frazzled at the beginning and I did not want to do it myself, so I really appreciate it. A couple of days ago, I got to participate in a Gen Z focus group that was put on by Michael Bloomberg's daughter, one of her companies, and they just polled Gen Z on certain issues that are vague. We didn't talk about political issues, but essentially just where Gen Z feels they are in the political climate and our involvement, especially coming back from the 2022 midterms where Gen Z and younger people turned out at a massive rate. So that was interesting. I just want to take this opportunity to thank the Senate. A lot of the time, one of the criticisms of this Senate is that we cannot handle conversations about really difficult things. And I cannot for the life of me imagine a more difficult conversation than abortion, but we handled that fantastically. Everyone was respectful to one another. And I think that really sets the standard for how this Senate can go forward with issues that are not controversial. We've done a really good job from there. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, Senate. And of course, have a fantastic fall break. Senator and Associate Senator reports. Senator Lowe.
Sorry, I had trouble unmuting there. So my announcements for the FDC. So Jason Van Rossum and Forrest Davis are starting an advocacy group for people with disabilities. I attended the first session this last week. I'm excited about this partnership between Jason, Forrest, ALVS, FDC, and people with invisible disabilities on campus. They are hopeful that this will become a student organization to advocate, educate, and build community with and about people with invisible disabilities. Jason hosted the town hall during Disability Awareness Week, and I am excited to be a part of this community and see how Jason creates changes and community on campus when it is where it is directly needed. I also wanted to speak about what happened earlier with the Groom Transportation Act and accessibility concerns. To say I am furious is an understatement. In section 106, diversity and inclusion of the ASCSU Constitution, it states that, quote, all additional documents from all three branches and their constituents, including legislation and presentations, must be sent out with the agenda 48 hours in advance. If these documents are not sent out 48 hours in advance, the chair shall open 5 minutes of discussion and debate in regard to hearing the document, legislation, and/or presentation. B, all documentation, legislation, and/or presentation and their edits must be read out in their entirety, if not sent out 48 hours in advance. And C, edits made during the meeting will be read out in their entirety. The 48-hour rule is inclusive of people with disabilities in the CSU community, those with learning disabilities, chronic health conditions, who are blind and visually impaired, deaf, and hard of hearing are just a few communities on campus, to name a few, who benefit from the 48-hour accessibility rule and especially having it read out loud in its entirety. Procedure was not followed, and the resistance met to my point of order was unprofessional, inappropriate, and ableist. While hiccups and confusions are bound to happen, fighting the accessibility rules implies that people with disabilities do not belong in this space, and that this information is not important to people with disabilities who attend and work at CSU. To connect to the activism from Jason and people with invisible disabilities, we are in crisis. I am deeply insulted on behalf of my constituency that there was a low turnout and he was essentially ignored on October 5th. And that tonight, 2 senators decided to fight the ASCSU constitutional rights we give people with disabilities at Colorado State University. That ableism was shameful. It is incredibly difficult to bring disability self-advocates into this space because our Awareness Week was ignored, Jason's event was brushed over, and when we ask for bare minimum compliance, it is fought by multiple senators. We cannot move to inclusion and equity when there is open hostility to people with disabilities even being present in this space. Those actions were a disgrace to ASCSU and a disgrace to people with disabilities on campus. And all of you should feel shame about what happened and do better. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield.
Other senator, associate senator reports. Yep, Senator Ayala.
Just quickly, because I know we already moved DNI up there. We just have a DNI caucus meeting tomorrow from 3 to 4. If you guys want to come, I'm pretty sure we're probably going to be talking about a couple of things and what happened with the Senate today. And I think either me or Claudia or Senator Price will be chairing. So you guys would have to come 3 to 4 tomorrow. Thank you.
Any other senator, associate senator reports? Okay, the next item on the agenda is the fight song. Yeah, that's what we decided in a legislative cabinet, that it wasn't my responsibility anymore.
This time.
Take it away, Kim.
This time.
Oh, wow.
This time, Nick.
I personally love the fight song. I'm just gonna say that right now. I'm gonna be very dramatic with it. Okay, ready? A 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3. Fight on, you shower, dancing on to the door. Tear the buffaloes, my ass on their cries. Down the field we thunder. Knights of the green gold. Fight with all your might. Say what? Fight on, you shower, dancing. Fight, fight. Fight, go Rams! Have a wonderful evening.
Have a great fall break.
Give me out these places.